तेरो नाम लिए मोरी होवे तसल्ला अल्लाह अल्लाह जल शान अल्लाह जल शान अल्लाह तू रहीम तू करीम तू सत्तार तू गफार तू रहीम तू करीम तू सत्तार तू गफार रिम झिम पर से है नूरे तजल्ला अल्लाह अल्लाह जल शान अल्लाह जल शान अल्लाह अल्लाह जल शान अल्लाह.
Welcome to the 36th Mēlā of the YaarAnād Virtual Baithak Series. Zeb, it's a pleasure to have you, join me in a conversation. But it is also a very sad moment. I'm an ex-aviator. Well, I still am. Last year, I ended up taking a ride in the Hawkeye. It means a lot to me personally. I'm always touched if there's any air crash or any tragedy like that. It means a lot. And thank you for starting with a prayer. Remembering them all. And I heard on BBC and CNN the Mayday call. It's always very touching. I could hear the voice of the pilot. He knew, and I heard it very close. So I really am thankful to you for remembering them. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਕੀਤਾ, ਮੈਂ ਸ਼ੁਕਰਗੁਜ਼ਾਰ ਹਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਲਈ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੁਆ ਕੀਤੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਲਈ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਿਆਰੇ ਵਿਛੜੇ ਨੇ. ਮੈਂ it means a lot. Thank you for that. ਇਹ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਯਾਦ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗਾਇਆ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਯਾਦ ਹੈਗਾ. ਉਸਤਾਦ ਫਹੀਮੁੱਦੀਨ ਖਾਨ ਆਫ ਦ ਡਾਗਰਵਾਨ ਯੂਜ਼ਡ ਟੂ ਸਿੰਗ ਦੈਟ ਐਵਰੀ ਟਾਈਮ. ਕਈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਸੀਗਾ, ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਾਮੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਗਾ ਰਹੇ ਸਾਂ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪੂਰਾ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਨਾ ਆਵੇ ਯਾਦ. तू अब याद कर ले, तू अब याद कर ले, हे बंदे अपने अल्लाह को, जो कुछ भला होए तेरा, तू अब याद कर ले। इस वेरी जोड़ा इदा जोड़ के गाते होंदे सन ਉਹ ਵੀ बड़ी बड़ी खूबसूरत रचनावां ਹਨ गੀਆਂ। So
बहुत शुक्रिया, थैंक
you
यू
know,
फॉर द ब्यूटीफुल थिंग।
it's ਅਸੀਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਦੋਂ ਗਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਵਿਛੋੜਾ ਹੋਵੇ, ਅਸੀਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨਾਨਕ ਸ਼ਾਹ ਫਕੀਰ, ਹਿੰਦੂ ਕਾ ਗੁਰੂ, ਮੁਸਲਮਾਨ ਕਾ ਪੀਰ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਸੋਹਿਲਾ ਹੈ ਰਾਗ ਗੌੜੀ ਪੂਰਬੀ ਦੀਪਕੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਜਾਂ ਗੌੜੀ ਦੀਪ ਦੋ ਰਾਗਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਇੱਕ ਛਾਇਆ ਲਗ ਰਾਗ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਰਾਗ ਗੌੜੀ ਦੀਪਕੀ ਹੈ, ਔਰ ਉਸੇ ਪਦੇ ਦਾ ਉਸੇ ਵਰਸ ਨੂੰ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਗਾਇਆ ਸੀ ਰਾਗ ਗੌੜੀ ਪੂਰਬੀ ਦੀਪਕੀ। ਇਟਸ ਅ ਸੰਕੀਰਨ ਰੂਪ ਰਾਗ, ਅ ਬਲੈਂਡ ਆਫ 3। ਸੋ as you would know, blend of 3 or more ragas, Sankiran Roop Raga. And ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਬੜੀ ਪੁਰਾਣੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਰਚਨਾ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਸੇਜ਼ ਤੁਮ ਗਾਵੋ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਕਾ ਸੋਹਿਲਾ। ਸੋਹਿਲੇ ਗਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਪਰ ਉਸ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਕਾ ਸੋਹਿਲਾ ਹਉ ਵਾਰੀ ਜਾਓ ਜਿਤ ਸੋਹਿਲੇ ਸਦਾ ਸੁਖ ਹੋਏ। ਮੈਂ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਸੋਹਿਲੇ 'ਤੇ ਮੁਬਾਰਕ ਜਾਨਾ, ਵਾਰੀ ਜਾਨਾ, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਸੋਹਿਲੇ ਗਾਵਾਂ ਤੇ ਸਦਾ ਸੁਖ, ਯਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਇਟਰਨਲ ਪੀਸ ਕਹਿ ਲਓ, ਹੈਪੀਨੈਸ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਪ੍ਰੀਵੇਲ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਜੇ ਸੋਹਿਲੇ ਗਾਉਣੇ ਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਸਿਰਫ ਉਹਦੇ ਗਾਓ। ਉਹ ਰਚਨਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਯਾਦ। I sang at the Radio Rai 3 in you know on 6th of March with the Renaissance with the band I've with the ensemble I've put together of the Renaissance period, early Renaissance period and late Renaissance period instruments. 15 ਮਾਤਰੇ ਦੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ। तुम गावो मेरे निर्भव का सोहला. This is sung at the time of the cremation. After that, so it is my salutation and my offering to all those who have passed, who've been lost. तुम गावो मेरे निर्भव का सोहला, तुम गावो मेरे निर्भव का धी ताक धी धी धा धा तेटा धी धी धा धा गिरना धा त्रिक धी ताक तुम गावो मेरे निर्भव का सोहला हवारी जाओ जित सोहला सदा सुख होए जी तुम गावो मेरे निर्भव का सोहला. जय घर की रथ आखिया करते का होए विचारो तित घर गावो सोहला शिवरो सिरजन हारो जी तुम गावो मेरे निर्भव का सोहला. This is my humble offering for those who have lost this crew and also the passengers.
Thank you so much. That means so much, and what a beautiful piece, and how beautifully rendered. But it's so interesting. Like there's sadness. I also feel that our cultures, where I guess because everyone is so steeped in faith, that mortality is something we deal with in a very different, like this. So it's somber, but it's somber in a very different flavor. Like it has a, क्योंकि हम इस चीज को, we also, like I was thinking about this a lot, कि it's so strange कि we're all trying to kind of in this lockdown, हम लोग यही कर रहे हैं ना कि हम नहीं चाहते कि in a communal way people should lose their lives.
Yeah.
And then but at the same time it's also our faith that when things happen, they happen, and here you have it, innocent people just nothing to do with the virus. So
yeah.
So
There is.
it's interesting.
There's also another one which Bhagat Kabir ji has rendered a beautiful composition. But is also, talks of ਸਾਨੂੰ ਚੱਜ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਜੀਵਨ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਮੌਤ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਕਿ ਜੀਵਨ ਕੀ ਹੈ ਮੌਤ ਕੀ ਹੈ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਨਾਲ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਨਜਿੱਠਣਾ ਹੈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੌਤ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਤੱਕਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਬਾਬਾ ਬੋਲਤੇ ਤੇ ਕਹਾਂ ਗਏ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬਾਬਾ ਬੋਲਤੇ ਤੇ ਕਹਾਂ ਗਏ ਦੇਹੀ ਕੇ ਸੰਗ रहते ਸੁਰਤੀ ਮਾਹੇ ਜੋ ਨਿਰਤੇ ਕਰਤੇ ਕਥਾ ਵਾਰਤਾ ਕਹਤੇ ਉਹ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਗਿਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬੋਲਦਾ ਸੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਰੀਰ 'ਚ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੁਰਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਵੇਕ ਸੀ ਜਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਉਦੋਂ ਕਥਾ ਕਰਦਾ ਸੀ ਵਾਰਤਾ ਕਰਦਾ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਨਿਰਤ ਵੀ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਸੁਰਤੀ ਮਾਹੇ ਜੋ ਨਿਰਤੇ ਕਰਤੇ ਜੀਵਨ ਦਾ ਨ੍ਰਿਤ ਕਰਦਾ ਸੀ ਨਾਚ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦਾ ਨਾਚ ਨੱਚਦਾ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਗਿਆ ਸੋ ਇਟਸ ਮੇਰੇ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਰਾਈ ਮੈਂ ਮਾਫੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਵਾਰਤਾ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਪਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਆ ਗਈ ਬੜੀ ਸੋਹਣੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਕਾਫੀ ਆਸਾ ਕਾਫੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦਾਦਰਾ ਹੈ ਧੁਰਪਦੀ ਦਾਦਰਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਬਾਬਾ ਬੋਲਤੇ ਤੇ ਕਹਾਂ ਗਏ बाबा बोलते ते कहाँ गए कहाँ गए कहाँ गए कहाँ गए देही के संग रहते सुरती माहे जो निरते करते सुरत माहे जो निरते करते कथा वार्ता कहते कथा वार्ता कहते बोलते ते कहाँ गए बाबा बोलते ते कहाँ गए कहाँ गए. It's a very beautiful dadra from the Darbar Sahib Parampara. All used, all sung at the time of, when dealing with the idea of death.
जी जी.
ते आज देखो ट्रेजेडी भी हुई पर ईद भी है जी. एक बन्ने असी रोईए कि खोए ने पर फिर बंदा कहे मुबारक है ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੇ ਵੇਲੇ तेरे मुबारक समय ते जाना ते बंदा कहे जन्नत च जाएगा है जी अल्लाह नाल ही यारी पएगी. सो ये कितना खट्टा मिठा है जीवन जीना. ਜ਼ਖਮ ਵੀ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਗੁਰੂ ਤੇਗ ਬਹਾਦਰ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਯਾਦ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਦੁੱਖ ਸੁੱਖ ਦੋ ਸਮ ਕਰ ਜਾਣੇ ਜੋਗੀ ਕਹੀ ਐ ਸੋਈ. ਅਸਲ ਜੋਗੀ ਉਹ ਹੈ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਰਾਂਝਾ ਜੋਗੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਜੋਗੀ ਬਣ ਕੇ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਪਰ ਉਹ ਜੋਗੀ ਅਸਲ ਕੌਣ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਦੁੱਖ ਤੇ ਸੁੱਖ ਨੂੰ ਸਮ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਕੁਅਲੀ ਜਾਣੇ ਨਾ ਦੁੱਖ ਨਾਲ ਕਲੇਸ਼ ਪਾਵੇ ਤੇ ਨਾ ਸੁੱਖ ਵਿੱਚ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੀ ਰੁੱਝ ਜਾਵੇ. ਸੋ ਇਹ ਦੋਨੋਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿ जीवन बड़ी अजब कहानी है. ये बड़े अजब ने रची है ते अजब ही होएगी. जैहो जिहा डाडा करता है हो जिहा डाडा ओदा कीता है. सो ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਈਦ ਦੀ ਮੁਬਾਰਕ ਵੀ ਹੋਵੇ. ਅਫਸੋਸ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ. ਈਦ ਮੁਬਾਰਕ ਤੇ ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਈਦ ਦਾ ਜਸ਼ਨ ਮਨਾਉਂਦੇ ਹੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੁਬਾਰਕਾਂ ਪਏ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਉਦੋਂ ਕੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ?
ईद पे
मैं ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਜਾਣ ਕੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਛੇੜਿਆ. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਲਾਹੌਰ ਦੇ ਜੰਮੇ ਹੋ. ਕੱਲ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸ਼ਰਮਾਓ ਨਾ ਥੋੜੀ ਬਹੁਤੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਵੀ ਬੋਲੀ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੀ. ਕੋਈ FIR ਨਹੀਂ ਦਰਜ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ.
ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਸਮਝ ਰਹੀ ਹੂੰ.
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਟਰੰਪਿਸਤਾਨ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ. ਮੈਂ ਆਈ ਡੋਂਟ ਥਿੰਕ ਉੱਥੇ ਕੋਈ ਇਲਜ਼ਾਮ ਲੱਗੇਗਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਵੀ ਬੋਲੀ ਹੈ.
लेकिन लोग सुन तो रहे हैं।
तो ठीक
सबसे
है,
ज्यादा
सुन
मेरे
लें।
वो
देखो
मेरे
जी,
पे
पंजाबी सुननगे जन्नत च जाणगे। बाबा शेख फरीद ने पंजाबी बोली, शाह हुसैन किन्ने किन्ने खूबसूरत बंदे होते।
अच्छा, फिर मैं पंजाबी गीत गा लेती हूँ, क्योंकि
ले
अगर आप पंजाबी में बुलवाएंगे तो मैं गीत ही पंजाबी का गा
जी सदके, दैट विल बी वंडरफुल।
लूँ।
जी सदके। अच्छा,
ये जी ये जो गीत है ये मैडम नूरजहां का है।
ओह अच्छा।
तो from her, it's a filmy geet of hers, but I don't know why it was a part of my childhood up there in Peshawar. Everyone used to love
अच्छा,
her Punjabi song. So this is one song that I like to sing.
जी सदके।
इजाजत। दिल दा जानी सयोनी मेरे दिल दा जानी, दिल दा जानी सयोनी मेरे दिल दा जानी, वेखो नी मुख मोड़ गया जे, लाके नी तोड़ गया जे, सयोनी मेरे दिल दा जानी, हाय नी मेरे दिल दा जानी। ओ जांदा जे टुरिया कुल जेड़ा बहंदा सी, ओ जांदा जे टुरिया कुल जेड़ा बहंदा सी, रोण ते के चलिया हसता जेड़ा रहिंदा सी, हाय नी हुण मुकर गया जे, लाके नी तोड़ गया जे, सयोनी मेरे दिल दा जानी, हाय नी मेरे दिल दा जानी। ਪਹਿਲਾ ਜਾਣਦੀ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਕਦੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲਾਉਂਦੀ ਨਾ, ਪਹਿਲਾ ਜਾਣਦੀ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਕਦੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲਾਉਂਦੀ ਨਾ, ਸੋਹਣਿਆ ਧੋਖੇਬਾਜ਼ ਧੋਖਾ ਤੇਰਾ ਖਾਂਦੀ ਨਾ, ਹਾਏ ਨੀ ਹੁਣ ਮੁੱਕਰ ਗਿਆ ਜੇ, ਲਾਕੇ ਨੀ ਤੋੜ ਗਿਆ ਜੇ, ਸਯੋਨੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਦਿਲ ਦਾ ਜਾਣੀ, ਹਾਏ ਨੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਦਿਲ ਦਾ ਜਾਣੀ, ਦੇਖੋ ਨੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਦਿਲ ਦਾ ਜਾਣੀ, ਹਾਏ ਨੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਦਿਲ ਦਾ ਜਾਣੀ।
That's a
It's my
very
little
very
Punjabi.
ਨਹੀਂ, ਤੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਇੰਨੀ ਸੋਹਣੀ ਡਿਕਸ਼ਨ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ। ਕੱਲ ਤੂੰ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੋਲ ਵੀ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਹ ਹਨਗੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਹੁਣ ਦੱਸ ਦੇਣਾ ਨਾ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਆਪਸ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਕਿ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬ੍ਰਸ਼ਅਪ ਕਰਨੀ ਪੈਣੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਤਾਂ ਬੋਲ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹੋ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਾਣ ਕੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਹੋ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਹੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਪਲੇਨਸ ਦੇ ਲੋਕ ਆ ਨਾ, ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਪਹਾੜੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਤੇ ਖਬਰੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਇਨਫੀਰੀਅਰ ਲੋਕ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਗੰਗਾ ਤੇ ਜਮੁਨਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਤਹਿਜ਼ੀਬ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਚੱਜ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦਾ। ਇਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਇਲਜ਼ਾਮ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਰਦੂ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਹੋ। ਮੈਂ ਹੱਸਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੋਲੀ ਨਾ, ਨਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਇਸ਼ਕ ਦਾ ਪਤਾ ਤੇ ਨਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਲੜਾਈ ਦਾ ਪਤਾ। ਸਾਡੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀਆਂ ਵਰਗਾ ਲੜਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਚੰਗਾ ਨਹੀਂ। ਸਾਡੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਗਾਲਾਂ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵਧੀਆ, ਸਵਾਦ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਜਦ ਤੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ 'ਚ ਨਾ ਕੱਢੀਆਂ ਜਾਣ। ਤੇ ਆਸ਼ਕੀ ਕਾਹਦੀ, ਦੇਖੋ ਰਾਂਝਾ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ, ਰੋਮੀਓ ਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਪਤਾ ਇਸ਼ਕ ਦਾ। So I hope my Punjabi supremacist banter is well, it's over now.
Yeah, no, you've shamed me enough, but I'm feeling even more tongue-tied than I was before.
That was not the purpose. Purpose is ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਛੇੜਾਂ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਥੋੜੀ ਥੋੜੀ ਬੋਲੋ। ਹਾਂਜੀ,
थोड़ी बोलनी
बहुत
है।
ही खुशी हुई। बड़ा ਇਹ ਗੀਤ ਬਾਰੇ ਦੱਸੋ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਇਹਦੇ ਚ ਚੰਗਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ? ਇਹਦੀ ਧੁਨ ਚੰਗੀ ਲੱਗੀ ਜਾਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵਰਡਸ ਹੈਗਾ ਚੰਗਾ ਲੱਗਾ, ਜਾਂ ਨੂਰ ਜਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਗਾਣਾ ਸੀ? ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਗਾਣੇ ਬੜੇ ਸੌਖੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਗਾਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਟਾਈਮਲੈਸ ਕਰ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਆਪਣੀ ਸ਼ਿਰਕਤ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਕੁਝ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੇ ਅੰਗ ਸੰਗ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦੂਰ, ਮਤਲਬ ਸਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਤੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਦੂਰ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਗੀਤ, ਉਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਨੇੜੇ ਕਰ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਇੰਨੇ ਨੇੜੇ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਦੇ ਭੁਲਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ। ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਗੀਤ 'ਚ ਕੀ ਖਾਸ ਲੱਗਦਾ?
ਇਸ ਗੀਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜੇ ਮੈਡਮ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਐਕਸਪ੍ਰੈਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਬੜੀ ਚੰਗੀ ਹੈ, ਇਟਸ ਬਿਊਟੀਫੁਲ। और and I mean, I think like for me the most beautiful thing about Punjabi as a language is that it uses so much of the instrument, like of the vocal instrument, just in normal, like just the way you normally speak. You have to use so much. The throw is so varied. There's so much diversity in it, you know, just from a very perspective. So and madam is one person who can do that in like as if it's nothing, and she brings it into her singing, each and every word. And I mean, even though ये बड़ा simple geet लगता है, like it seems like it's a very simple geet, but it took me so long to just hear her over and over again, the way she like renders every word. And I think that really to me is like the beauty of Punjabi, you know, is that every word carries so much expression in it, and it can. And the songs also allow for that. So you can have so much nakhra, and you can have so much longing, and you know, like it's like that. I like that about this song.
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪੰਡਿਤ ਭੀਮ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੋਸ਼ੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ, ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਰਾਊਟਲੇਟ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਪੇਪਰ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਸੀ, ਮੈਬਰੀਨ ਪੈਡਾਗੋਜੀ ਆਫ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਸੰਗੀਤ ਐਂਡ ਆਟੋ ਐਥਨੋਗ੍ਰਾਫਿਕ ਉਦਾਸੀ, ਲਾਸਟ ਈਅਰ ਵਾਸ ਪਬਲਿਸ਼ਡ, ਇਟ ਵਾਸ ਅਬਾਊਟ 201 ਪੇजेस ਲੌਂਗ। ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਮੈਂ ਨਾ ਪੰਡਿਤ ਭੀਮ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੋਸ਼ੀ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਹੋਇਆ, ਕਈਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਤੋਂ ਕੁਝ ਆਵੇ ਅਕਸਰ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਸਾਂਝੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਸਨ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮੈਂ ਨਾ ਘਰੋਂ ਭੱਜ ਕੇ ਚਲਾ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਜਲੰਧਰ, ਹਰਵਲਬ ਦਾ ਮੇਲਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ, ਛੋਟੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਘਰੋਂ ਭੱਜ ਗਿਆ ਮੈਂ, ਆਈ ਜਸਟ ਰੈਨ ਅਵੇ। ਅਤੇ ਬੜੀ ਅੱਛੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਸਨ। ਪੰਡਿਤ ਰਾਮ ਨਾਰਾਇਣ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਲਾਹੌਰ ਰੇਡੀਓ 'ਚ ਰਹੇ ਉਦੋਂ ਪਾਰਟੀਸ਼ਨ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ, ਅਤੇ ਉਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ 'ਚ ਹੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਲੋਕ ਹੈਰਾਨ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਕਿਸੇ ਵੇਲੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਹਮਵਾਰਤਕ ਹੋਵਾਂਗਾ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮੈਂ ਨਾ ਗਾਣਾ ਤਾਂ ਚਲੋ ਉਸਤਾਦਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸਿਖਾਇਆ, ਪਰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ 'ਚ ਨਾ ਜਲੰਧਰ ਰਹਿ ਕੇ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦਾ ਪੈਸ਼ਨ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ, ਜਨੂਨ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਉੱਥੇ ਆਇਆ, ਨਹੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ। ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਗਾਣੇ 'ਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪੈਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਜਨੂਨ ਹੈਗਾ, ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮੈਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੋਂ ਲਿਆ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਅਕਸਰ ਉਹ ਬੜੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ, ਜੋ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਪੂਰੇ ਜਹਾਨ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਅੱਖਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਰੋ ਦੇਣਾ। ਪਰ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਸੁਣਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਾ, ਮੈਂ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਦਿਨਾਂ ਸੁਣ ਰਿਹਾ ਸਾਂ, ਅਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਇਨਫੈਕਟ ਆਈ ਐਂਡਡ ਅਪ ਰਾਈਟਿੰਗ ਅ ਨੋਟ, ਔਰ ਵਾਸ ਇਟ ਟੁਡੇ ਮਾਰਨਿੰਗ, that you have a typical nasal voice. I mean, at the very first onset, when I begin listening to you, I'm struck by that. But एक चीज़ है कि अक्सर most people somehow think that that's an ornament enough, that it's Punjab or you know West, you know Northwest South Asia enough, and that's enough. कि होर किसी चीज़ की लोड़ नहीं, लोकी आह तक कर ही लेंगे. But then there was more. I saw soothe, for example, the thread, the stretch, the pull of the note, and there seemed to be no hurry. That struck me. Then I saw honka, a sigh. Then I saw the mead as well come in. वो soothe ਜਦੋਂ mead ਵਿੱਚ ਤਬਦੀਲ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਲਹਿਰਾਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ mead ਬਣਦੀ ਹੈ। ਫਿਰ ਇੱਕ ਖਿਆਲ ਆਇਆ, ਆਈ ਡੋਂਟ ਨੋ, ਮੈਂ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਗੁਨਾਹ ਨਾ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੋਵਾਂ, there was a surety clad हिचकिचाहट. I've never used that expression before. It was हिचकिचाहट, but there's something sure about it. It's not even pretense. It's real. That's what struck me in your voice. And then the murki comes in. So then by the time you reach there, you think कि आवाज़ ना बड़ी सादी जी होएगी, ਇਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਹਰਕਤ ਜਾਂ ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਏਗੀ, ਬਟ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੁਰਕੀਆਂ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਗਹਿਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ, oh, bada phabda. Let's say, simply I'm trying to, perhaps I'm trying to say that I don't see you relying on one, but you somehow have, you rely on multiple musical assets and even socio-cultural narratives. Um, and I thought when I was writing about you, I thought that perhaps it would not be, or rather than I could rephrase it, it may be proper to say that the key is not to cling on to your voice or to you or associate you to one region. For I see that you meander across cultures, customs, and nations, coyly displaying memoirs. A shade here and a glitter there. Manu, iyon lagda hai कि you don't seem to. One of my, actually my last mentor used to say कि जे तुसी पंजाबी बोलते हो ना तो इदा नहीं लगना चाहिए कि ਉਹਦੇ ਚ ਕੋਈ ਉਰਦੂ ਦੀ ਜਾਂ ਹਿੰਦੀ ਦੀ ਜਾਂ ਫਾਰਸੀ ਦੀ ਅਰਬੀ ਦੀ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਦੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਬਾਸ ਫ੍ਰੈਗਰੈਂਸ ਜਾਂ ਸਮੈਲ ਤੇ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਰਦੂ ਬੋਲੋ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਡਿਕਸ਼ਨ ਇੰਨੀ ਪਿਓਰ ਹੋਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਲੱਗੇ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਕੋਈ ਉਰਦੂ ਦਾ ਫਾਹਾ ਵੱਢ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ some Punjabi slaughtering a language, another language. ਉਹ ਡਿਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਇੰਨਾ ਸੀਗਾ so I thought that you very fluent, you very effortlessly ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਭਵਰਾ ਕਹਾਂ ਬੰਬਲ ਬੀ ਕਹਾਂ a butterfly ਕਹਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤੈਰਦੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੋ you don't even walk across the ambit I see that I've seen you sing Turkish even for example you speak Turkish ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਰਹੇ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ you stayed I don't know what few years there is it and you speak
3
that
years,
language as well. So why don't you, let's start, that's the farthest perhaps that you've gone. Can we start from there? Would you mind sharing something from there that you've sung with your band?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to sing something from Turkey. And I think what I really appreciate, and I really appreciate, and I'm a little like struck by how perceptive you are. It's a little scary through voice how much you can read a person, and that's a skill that you'll have to teach me one day.
Well, I'm a voice smith, as I like to call myself. So I analyze people's voices. So, but to see, matlab, instead of getting scared, you can also praise me. My analysis is okay. You can.
I am praising you.
मैंने भी बड़ी तारीफ पसंद आएगी.
It's awesome. So I'll sing a song. I mean, I know many songs from the Turkey. I don't just like Turkish folk songs. I also like Turkish pop songs and all that. But I think just with the mood, and also since we're talking about threads and connectivity and interconnectedness, oftentimes you will find that in folk traditions. And it's funny when I grew up in a household where all of these languages and musics were a part of the vernacular, so they were all mine. But actually, even if you haven't grown up in that house, or you haven't had that, if you're anywhere in South Asia, I realize that you can connect to more than half the world, because that's the beauty of the varied cultures that have lived here for millennia. So we have little suits of every little, we have little grains. So I'll start with this one song, which it's an Azeri song, but it's a Turkic like hit, which everyone loves, and it's called YaarAnād. And if you just give me 1 second, even though I speak it, but I don't want to butcher the words.
Yeah.
Oops. Oh my God.
So if you can make the camera tilt little up, can I have a little bit more headroom without making it right left, just a little up? Okay.
Is this?
I'll check. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Sure. Fikrimden geçmez Yatağı bilmirəm, bu fikri başımdan ata bilmirəm. Fikrimdən geceler yata bilmirəm. Bu fikri başımdan ata bilmirəm. Neyleyim ki sene çata bilmirəm. Ayrılık, ayrılık, aman ayrılık. Her bir dertten ağlar yaman ayrılık. Ayrılık, ayrılık, aman ayrılık. Her bir dertten ağlar yaman ayrılık. This is a song.
Fantastic. Era दोनों गंधारा लगदियां ने दे बड़ा वो लम्हा बड़ा मजेदार हैगा that stretch. Can you demonstrate that again? That's a very beautiful moment. I think that this whole transition happens.
Yeah, that's the soul of the song.
I see.
Neyleyim ki sene çata bilmirəm. Ayrılık.
क्या बात क्या बात है. Beautiful moment, beautiful moment. So I mean, when we were speaking, we are both Fauji kids, right?
The what? Sorry?
You're also a Fauji kid, is it? Like me?
I'm a Fauji kid, yes.
Yes,
I'm
we are
very
both
much.
Fauji kids.
We're both
So,
Fauji kids.
People freaked out when I renounced my flying career. I was selected to fly for the Air Force. When I went into conservation, they freaked out. Tell me your story. Did you freak out many people because you were taking to arts and music and writing and so on and so forth?
No, actually, the funny thing is, I really, sometimes I really feel like, I wish I had that struggle at home story because it makes for a story. But unfortunately, or fortunately, I really don't. It's really kind of like my grandmother was very musical. We come from, a family where most of my uncles are engineers. They're all civil servants. My father was in the army. I have other uncles who are in the army. But nobody really has ever been a professional musician, but like big music lovers, huge music lovers. I mean, my uncle taught himself how to play the harmonium. Another used to play the tabla, but he taught himself, so he used to play ulta. So because they didn't have ustads, and then every time we got together, we would sing, and my grandmother had a beautiful voice, so we would all sing. And so music, when my father saw this in me, he pushed me. No matter where we'd go, he would always have some kind of a music teacher for me. And I was one of those human beings who had no ambition. Like, my ambition was to climb trees and hang out and gossip and eat, So he was always very ambitious for me. And even when I was in college in the States, he called me one day and said, why don't you do a master's in music or a thing in music? And I was so angry, I was like, no, I have to earn money and all of that. So all of this, it was all kind of destined, I feel, because my cousin and I were in college together and we made some songs and we came back. I was going to be a banker and a businesswoman, and some songs went viral on the internet. And the next thing we knew, like, people wanted us to, the biggest producer in Pakistan wanted us to make an album with him. Then, like, we were like, yeah, people were recognizing our songs. They were stopping us on the streets. People were writing about our music. And all this while, we were like completely unknown. And then all of a sudden, like we came on this program, Spoke Studio, and then that blew up. And before I knew it, I was in it. So that's how it happened.
I
So it
see.
was not, yeah,
No
it kind of
story.
found,
Come on. I thought you will give me a matching
it's
story.
so
My
boring.
my dad, Amarjeet, was much more tough. He, of course, I mean, everybody said कि ओए तू रागी बनेगा. They thought my stretch would be as much. कहते तेनू धी कहने पे आनी है. Nobody's gonna marry the daughter to you. So all this stuff. And when I
Yeah.
renounced, मेरे पता नहीं किन्ने वो एक भी लंबे रिश्ते सन के the guy's gonna get his eagle, he's gonna get his stripes, you know. And then ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਜਵਾਈ ਬਣਾਵਾਂਗੇ. The moment I renounced, everybody ran. There was nobody there. ਉੱਥੇ ਮਤਲਬ vultures ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀਗੇ. But then when I got the nod and things came into the paper in the papers, my dad had a very typical Fauji voice. Then he would take the newspaper and said, "Oi, so and so," and if he called somebody, it was heard, and they would come out. Oh, believe the article I you. So then he would, of course, walk around with the newspaper article. I mean, that Baldeep has gotten a mention. And then, of course, he was very happy, and of course, we lost him in 2004. I was glad when the Delhi State Award was given. He was present in Delhi. That was the only thing. Then I lost him very early. But that's so. You were not no objection, because I mean you say that your grandma sang, and my family has been singing and have been fighting for I don't know, for ages, right? Like the old bloodline. But in spite of that, many civil servants in my family, as well, and military guys, but nobody wanted me to. They thought this was. But that was very interesting that you, in fact, instead were encouraged. I wonder if it is the girl child and the boy, male
I
child
think so.
divide. Is that
Absolutely.
is it? Because
I think that's exactly it. That's precisely it. Because I think I mean, it is a very risky business. I mean, it's a risky career to, like, earn a livelihood with. And that definitely, to, in our cultures, it's always the men have to bear the brunt of that. So, I think absolutely it's probably that you have to go through it. But for me, and maybe that's why I was also rebelling against it. So when they would say, just do music, I'd be like, no, I'm not doing music. I'm doing
oh, I
economics.
see, I see,
So it
I
was
see.
like that. But, you end up doing what you ultimately, I feel like, जो आपको करना होता है वो आपसे काम निकाल दिए जाते हैं. Like ultimately, it happens.
Right, right. That's
Would you like to
fantastic.
discuss the subject?
I was looking at sharing a note about you that friends. I was about to ask her where next. That Zeb originally is from Lahore. That's why I've been trying to tease her into Punjabi, because ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲਾਹੌਰ ਦੀ
That
ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੜੀ ਪਸੰਦ ਹੈ. ਉਹ ਕੱਲ ਵੀ ਮੇਰੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ, ਉਹ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਰਦੂ ਬੋਲੇ. ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਯਾਰ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਥੋੜੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਸੁਣਾ ਦੇ. So that was my little naughtiness, and that's where it springs from. Um,
Yeah.
so where are you taking us next? I think we've been to Turkey and Azeri song. Can we? You sing Benseni Saduni?
Yeah, I can say.
Yeah.
I can say.
Can you share
So
that with us? ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਦੱਸੋ
Yes,
ਕੁਛ.
so
Can you tell us about that song? It's from the Black Sea region. How did you get this, and how did the song come to you?
So this song came to me through a friend who was living in Islamabad. Actually, they were posted there in the Turkish, and at one point, I really wanted to go and learn Turkish vocals to Turkey. And so she basically made me listen to this song, and the first time I heard it, I cried. It's in a very specific uh, dialect. It's a little Dehati. The Black Sea region dialect is a more Dehati dialect, from like say the Istanbul dialect.
I see.
So they say the words a little differently. But I really love it, and it's also, I think it's in 5 beats, because they have five and
Oh,
seven, nines. They usually G. So I'll
fantastic.
sing this one, and it's got quite a bit of references to dying, to death
Oh.
and mortality. But it's really it's interesting that in most mountain cultures I've seen that is a theme, that they use death to sometimes bring out, the idea of separation is sometimes used as a metaphor. The death is used as a metaphor for separation. It can be enlightenment. It can also be the way, you finally find love. So it's a very beautiful and powerful metaphor in that region. So yeah, here it is. Ben seni sevdim, da dünyalara bildirdim. Ben seni sevdim, da dünyalara bildirdim. Endirdim babani, babani, babani bildirdim. Öldürdüm kaşlarını, endirdin kaşlarını, babani, babani yıldırdım. Oy 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 oy. Oy 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 oy. Oy oy oy. Oy 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 oy. Endereye dereye al dereden taşları. Dereye dereye al dereye taşları. Geçti bizden sevdalık, al cebum, al cebumden saçları. Geçti bizden sevdalık, geçti bizden sevdalık. Al cebumden saçları. Oy oy oy. Oy 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 oy. Oy 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 oy. Oy oy oy. Oy 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 oy. Yaz gelir, bahar gelir, oy açtı yeşil yapraklar. Yaz gelir, bahar gelir, oy açtı yeşil yapraklar. Ben sana doyamadım, duysun kara topraklar. Ben sana doyamadım, ben sana doyamadım. Duysun kara, duysun kara, duysun kara topraklar.
It's very similar to the Sulfakta Chal. It is exactly the same khand. Da, 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 ek do, tija, panch, छः सात da da ge da da di da ge da ge da ge da ge da
Yeah,
ge da ge da ge da ge da ge da ge
exactly.
na dinda dinda. Matlab very similar. It's not similar. It's exactly the same actually. The khand and the chol jehdi hegi odi.
Yeah.
In these compositions that you see, are these classified as folk, or the classical tradition from there, or
These are not, the classical tradition is very different, and the classical tradition of Turkey is this is all regional music. Jisko desi music and folk music. So this is all regional music, and it's interesting because I find like you said, resonances in our classical in their folk. Like, you know, I find certain, like, you know, ways that they undulate voice. So, I mean, it's not exactly the same, but there's a little bit of that thing. But people like generally sing these tunes, and these are things.
Music did go. I mean, if you look at old treaties, the music went from here to to Africa, Middle East, Syria, and others, and it comes back via Iran. So they've done a whole circle over the last few thousand years. So those kind of exchanges have occurred. But the other query was that if it is not folk, or, I mean, not classic, is it dance related? Is it that do they dance with this song, or is it just sung?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. In mountain regions, they dance to most songs.
Okay.
But you know, because I think that and men dance more than women. It's the same in like our culture. Men dance a lot more than women. Women hardly dance. In like Pathan culture, men dance a lot. I think because like, you know, it was physical exercise. You did it before you went to
ਉਹਦਾ
war.
ਰਾਜ਼ ਦੱਸ ਦੇਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹਦਾ ਰਾਜ਼ ਦੱਸ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਮੈਂ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਪਠਾਨਣਾ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਵਾਂਗੂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਇੱਕੋ ਆਦਤ ਖਰਾਬ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਮੁੰਡਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਚਾਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਂਗਲੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਨਚਾਉਣਗੀਆਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਹਥੇਲੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਨਚਾਉਣਗੀਆਂ ਵਿਚਾਰੇ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਨੱਚਦੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਸਮਾਨ ਲੁੱਟ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਬੈਠੇ ਨਾ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਹੱਸ ਬੈਂਡ ਮਤਲਬ ਵਿਚਾਰੇ ਰੋ ਰਹੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਪਰ ਕੋਈ ਹੱਸ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਬੈਠੇ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੇ ਬੈਂਡ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਰੋ ਮੁੰਡਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਜੂਨ ਨੂੰ ਬਦਨਾਮ ਕਰੋ ਸਾਡੀ ਸਾਰੀ ਸਪੀਸੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬਦਨਾਮ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ
But yeah, but they do dance to it. They dance a lot to it. Actually there's another but the five that they would dance to would probably not be this one. It would probably be the other one. It would be like that's the same jhol, yeah. Just a little
I can see the turns in it. Da 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 da. So there's basically I see the movement of you know the clockwise and the anti-clockwise. जिਵੇਂ पैंतरा जिਵੇਂ पुट्ठा पैंतरा करना होते. As Fauji's, it's the TLV shoot. You know, it's a movement when you make turn around.
And I think that's what the oddness of. That's why it's an odd beat structure, because if it's 5 or 7 or 9, it's for that, because it's the turn that you needed, that one special beat, one extra beat.
Do you remember other beats as well from there? Did you get a chance to look at other repertoire, or this is something that you like more?
I generally, there's other kinds of repertoire also. I just don't like, nothing's really coming to mind.
Is it like, is it the pace? So my question is more pace related in the sense that we've seen in the 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1. So tali, khal, tali, 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 khali, tali, 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 khali, tali, tali, tali. This is structure. 7 ਦੇ 9 ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਟਰਕਚਰ ਹੋਰ ਤਾਲਾਂ ਦਾ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਇਸੇ ਪੇਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈਗਾ ਜਾਂ ਪੇਸ ਬਦਲਦੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਮਾਈ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਇਜ਼ ਮੋਰ ਰਿਲੇਟਡ ਟੂ ਦ ਪੇਸ
noise around this pace,
around same this pace. So it is
it's I think
but something similar but
something similar
from your memory
when they clap in 9. When all of them get together and they clap in 9s and 11s.
I see.
Yeah, it's very fun. Yeah.
अच्छा ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅਫਗਾਨਿਸਤਾਨ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਚਲੋ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਗਜ਼ਲ ਗਾਉਂਦੇ ਹੋ ਮਹਿਦੀ ਹਸਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮਤਲਬ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਵੀ ਮਸ਼ਹੂਰ ਹੋਈ
ਜੀ
उस्ताद रहीम
ये
बख्श उन्हां दी कंपोजिशन हैगी है शायद ना
जी रहीम
अफगानिस्तान
बख्श साहब, उस्ताद रहीम बख्श साहब. And I think article, people find it difficult to understand this, but like Afghanistan is really part of this entire musical, space.
Gandharv Gan comes from there. Kandahar te Gandharv Gan. It's one civilization.
So, and till very recently, even now, people, there were some really brilliant singers there. There was a lot of exchange, especially in the 70s. 70s में बहुत ज़्यादा ही exchange था. So this is around the same time. Ustad Reem Baksh from Afghanistan came up with this sweet little ghazal,
I see.
and then Mehdi Hasan Saab re-sang it and almost presented it as a gift to Afghanistan, and then both were very popular. So I thought that I would
That would be
sing that.
fantastic, yeah.
And it's about the moon coming out. So since our Chand Raat hai, maybe it's appropriate like that. Actually, I'm going to just. Deshab ke tu Asmir Baba, Mir Baba, Amadabuti, Deshab ke tu Asmir Baba, Mir Baba, Amadabuti, Didam ki beas mohe tamam, Amadabuti, Mardam negirane manuman, khud bat hayran, khud bat hayran, Mardam negirane manuman, khud bat hayran, tu beher tamashayi khuda, Amadabuti, tu beher tamashayi khuda, Amadabuti, Goya ke falak zameen, Amada imshab, Goya ke falak zameen,
Shabash.
Amada imshab, tu beher tamashayi khuda, Amadabuti,
it reminds me of so many, but in particular Rag Vadhans. Ah, re, sa re pa ma ge, sa so many compositions, but this one. Dhan suvila jit darshan karna. Dhan suvila jit darshan karna. How bale hari Sat Gur Charana Ji ke Date Pritam Prab Mere Man Jeev Prab Naam Chitere Dhan. There are many, we sing, but Hans बहुत अच्छी तरह गाया गया है. But very, I mean, it's so nostalgic for me. कुछ मेरे अंग ने da 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 da. It's very nostalgic, touching. I don't know what it touches inside. बड़ी अंदर जाती है तो क्या बात है. Thank you so much for sharing this.
Thank you, and thank you for like bringing that other perspective in, and like really curating it with what that's the thing. I mean, people often ask you or will ask how you choose songs or whatever, but like it seems like there's so much inside of us that perhaps we are not aware of because we don't know our histories. We're not proud of our histories. Like it's almost like there's all this stuff sleeping inside us.
Yes.
And then something just wakes it up, and then you're like, what do I do with this? So I mean, hearing you sing this was just so beautiful. I'm feeling a bit moved right now.
And then the it's very, very beautiful, very powerful rag. Vada Hans, Hans कहते सी mystic no. Hans ਜਿਹੜਾ mystic ਹੈਗਾ. ਵੱਡਾ ਹੰਸ is the grand mystic, ਖੁਦਾ. ਇਹ ਗਾਇਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਸੀ ਉਦੋਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਤਿਲਕ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸੀ ਰਾਜਿਆਂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜਿਆਂ ਨਵਾਬਾਂ ਨੂੰ, ਸਿਰਫ ਉਸ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਤਿਲਕ ਵੇਲੇ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਫੇ ਇੱਕ ਅਪਰਭੰਸ਼ ਤਿਲਕ ਵੀ ਬਣਿਆ. ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਘੱਟ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ.
ਅੱਛਾ.
ਇਹ ਰਿਜ਼ਰਵ ਸੀ ਤਾਜਪੋਸ਼ੀ ਲਈ. ਵੱਡਾ ਹੰਸ, ਹੰਸ ਉਹ ਵੱਡਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਨੈਰੇਟਿਵ ਬਣ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੇਕਰਡ ਇਹ ਧੁਨ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ. ਜਦੋਂ ਗੌਰ ਜਾਂ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜਾ ਪਟਿਆਲੇ ਦੇ ਵੀ, she refused because she had heard, not maybe, she had heard stories. So ਗੌਰ ਜਾਂ ਨੇ ਹਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੱਦਾ ਸੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਮਨਾ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ. The Mahant Gajja Singh, who studied also from my great uncle, the legendary Baba Jwala Singh of Thathatibba. And Mahant Gajja Singh then was requested by Maharaj Patiala Bhupinder Singh ji कि तुसी जाओ तो उन्होंने लेके आओ. वो गए ਤੇ ਉਹਦੀ ਹਵੇਲੀ ਦੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਥੱਲੇ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਤਾਊਸ ਆਪਣਾ ਖੋਲਿਆ ਤੇ ਵਡਹੰਸ ਦਾ ਆਲਾਪ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਤੇ ਅੱਧਾ ਘੰਟਾ ਹੀ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ ਗੌਰ ਜਾਂ ਥੱਲੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਪੈਰੀਂ ਪੈ ਗਈ ਕਿ ਬਸ ਹੋਰ ਨਾ ਵਜਾਓ ਮੈਂ ਬਾਵਰੀ ਹੋ ਜਾਵਾਂਗੀ it was so moving ਇੰਨਾ ਅਸਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪੈਦਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਆਲਾਪ ਕੀਤਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵਡਹੰਸ ਦਾ ਵਡਹੰਸੀ ਰਾਗ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵਜਾਇਆ ਬਸ ਮੈਂ ਪਾਗਲ ਹੋ ਜਾਵਾਂਗੀ ਬਸ ਹੁਕਮ ਕਰੋ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਸੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਪਟਿਆਲੇ ਚੱਲੋ ਉਹ ਫਿਰ ਆਈ ਇਹ ਰਾਗ ਦੀਆਂ ਬੜੀਆਂ ਵੱਡੀਆਂ ਵੱਡੀਆਂ ਗਾਥਾਵਾਂ ਕਹਾਣੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਬੜੀਆਂ ਮਜ਼ੇਦਾਰ ਪਰ ਇਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਕੁਝ ਆਫ ਕੋਰਸ ਐਨਾਲਿਸਿਸ ਕਰਨਾ ਪਏਗਾ ਕਿ ਕਿੱਥੋਂ ਆਇਆ ਕੀ ਆਇਆ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸਨ ਪਰ ਕੁਝ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅੰਗ ਨੇ ਰਾਗ ਅੰਗ the form some of the musical lines are so beautifully identical that it is very moving in that sense it just spurs that as you said very beautifully कि बड़ी सोहनी गल तुसीं कही है कि it's as if ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕੋਈ ਹਾਰਡ ਡਰਾਈਵ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਸੋਲਿਡ ਸਟੇਟ ਡਰਾਈਵ ਕਹਿ ਲਈਏ ਸਭ ਕੁਝ ਹੈਗਾ ਮਹਿਫੂਜ਼ ਤੇ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਕਿਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਜਗਾ ਦੇ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਜਾਗ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਕਿ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਸਾਂ ਇਹ ਕਿੱਥੋਂ ਆਇਆ ਮੇਰੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਮੇਰਾ my experience Zeb is that sometimes when you go away you think you've planted a tree and you go away and then you worry that oh you know what would have happened to the plant would it have died because I have left it unattended but when you come back it has grown it is intangible
More than
exactly and then you come back and revisit it there's something else there I mean something more beautiful profound it is now rooted deep rooted and ਉਹਦਾ ਐਕਸਪੈਂਸ ਉਹ ਜਦੋਂ ਹਵਾ ਵਗਦੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਝੂਲਦਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਝੂਲਦਾ ਉਹਦੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਆ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਸੋ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਹੈਰੀਟੇਜ ਦੈਟ ਇਜ਼ ਹਾਊ ਇਟ ਰੈਜ਼ੋਨੇਟਸ ਇਟ ਇਜ਼ ਸਮਹਾਊ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਤਵਾਰੀਖ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ
Absolutely. Yeah, I think this is also our ego where we think, and I hear people saying that so much to me. Oh, this is the last bit. This is the last practitioner. ये इसके बाद खत्म हो जाएगा. ये खत्म हो जाएगा. लेकिन मैं बिल्कुल इसमें I don't believe that at all. Because I think that, you know, we can't know everyone in the world and what they're doing. And oftentimes these things are being preserved in ways that we, like you said, don't understand, and they're growing. And you know, khatam nahi hota. Kabhi uski thodi shakal badal jati hai ya kabhi chup jata hai, but wo khatam nahi hota. And it's not like sometimes I feel like, you know, a lot of people say, I don't know how you feel because you know you do that for conservation, but I'm sure you also do it for pleasure. You know. There's also, like, I mean, one gets so much from it. As one gives, one gets so much, you know.
Yes.
It's such a nurturing experience.
But I would like to add, I mean, yes, there's one part of it that doesn't die. Like, for example, gold. Gold doesn't die. Gehna jada hega, if we let go, no, it's like a smelting pot. ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗਹਿਣਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਹੱਥ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈਗਾ talking of last years and so I mean that spurred me into action I dreamt of Fauji kid dreamt of being a test pilot you know being a fighter pilot selected for 147 FPC starting January 19 blah 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 wanted to be an astronaut designed I was already started a company with 16 and a half champion aero modeler ਉਹ ਸਭ ਕੁਝ ਹੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਦਾਦਿਆਂ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਦਾਦੇ ਭਾਈਆਂ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਕਿ ਪਰੰਪਰਾ ਇਜ਼ ਡਾਈਂਗ ਨੋਬਡੀ ਇਜ਼ ਲਰਨਿੰਗ ਹੈਰੀਟੇਜ ਇਜ਼ ਸੋ ਪ੍ਰੈਸ਼ੀਅਸ ਦਿਸ ਇਜ਼ ਦ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ you know the uncolonized Sikh all those aspects that I heard I saw then I began seeing I renounced everything to if nobody was listening I said okay here I am this is also serving our civilization. But then there's an aspect. If we cling on to an intangible asset, the moment it is asset designated, you know, or designated as an asset, intangible asset, or even a tangible one, it has a form, it has a history, it has a memory. Uh, if we let go of that, it falls right into the the sacred space where it had emerged from. ਉਹ ਸਨਾਟੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਫੇਰ ਚਲੇ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਉਹ ਸੋਨੇ ਦੀ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕਹਿ ਲਓ ਕਿ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਸੋਨੇ ਦਾ ਗਹਿਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹ ਫੇਰ ਇੱਕ ਉਬਲਦੀ ਦੇਗ ਵਿੱਚ ਫੇਰ ਚਲਾ ਗਿਆ। ਜਿਵੇਂ ਇੱਕ ਬੂੰਦ ਸੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫੜੀ ਸੀ ਪਰ ਛੁੱਟ ਗਈ ਹੱਥੋਂ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਵਾਪਸ ਸਮੁੰਦਰ 'ਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਵਸ ਗਈ। ਰਿਵਰਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ। ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਪ੍ਰੈਸਿਪੀਟੇਟ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਵਾਟਰ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਖਿਆਲ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਵੇਪਰ ਬਣਦੀ ਹੈ ਜੀ। ਉਹ ਕਿਤੇ ਬੱਦਲ ਬਣਦਾ, ਕਿਤੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਫਿਰ ਬੂੰਦ ਬਣਦੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਕਿਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਤਲਾਅ ਭਰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਕਿਤੇ ਦਰਿਆ ਵਗਦਾ ਹੈ। ਪਰ ਉਹ ਰਿਵਰਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ ਫਿਰ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ। ਉਹ ਬੂੰਦ ਫਿਰ ਦੈਨ ਇਟ ਗੋਜ਼ ਬੈਕ। ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ 'ਚ ਰਹੇਗੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਰਾਗ ਰਹਿ ਜਾਏਗਾ, ਪਰ ਉਹ ਫਾਰਮ ਚਲੇ ਜਾਏਗਾ। ਉਹ ਗਹਿਣੇ ਦਾ ਫਾਰਮ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਜਾਣਾ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਦੋਨੋਂ ਐਸਪੈਕਟਸ ਹੋਣੇ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਨੇ। ਯੈਸ, there is something that remains within us, but then that is the neutral. It's like a reset button. It is the formless form. When we lose the form, then it dies. I think as a conservator, I'm speaking as an archivist, as a restorer, as an evaluator, as an analyst of heritage and so on and so forth, intangible heritage as such in particular. But I think बड़ा जरूरी होता है कि ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਸਭਿਅਤਾ ਦੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਕੌਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ finest minds ਹੋਣਗੇ, they have to become the responsible attendees. Unless we do that, assets lose that form. Look at the beautiful stories that you've told from the Azeri Turkish region. Then you took us to Noor Jahan's composition, which is a film song. Then you took us to to Ustad Rahim Baksh's sharing, which was again reiterated by Ustad Mehdi Hassan, who's 18th generation, 17th generation of the Kalavant. Draupadi Hassan 7 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਉਮਰ 'ਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਤੁਰਬਦਾ ਆਲਾਪ ਕਰਕੇ ਸਟੇਜ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਹਾਜ਼ਰੀ ਭਰੀ ਸੀ। It was grounded and people think ਕਿ ਨਾਮ ਮਸ਼ਹੂਰ ਹੋ ਗਏ। ਕਿੰਨੀ ਗਰਾਊਂਡਿੰਗ ਸੀ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਉਹਦੇ, ਕਿੰਨੀ ਹੋਸ਼ੋ ਹਵਾ, ਕਿੰਨੀ ਹੋਸ਼ ਸੀ, ਕਿੰਨਾ ਪਰਸਪੈਕਟਿਵ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਹਾਰਵੈਸਟ ਹੋਇਆ, ਮਤਲਬ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਹਾਰਵੈਸਟ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਬਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਬਕੌਲ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੁਛ ਫਾਰਮੂਲੇਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ, ਕੋਈ ਕੰਪੋਜੀਸ਼ਨ ਉਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਗਾਣ ਦਾ ਢੰਗ ਸਵਰ ਛੋਣ ਦਾ ਚੱਜ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ। How you touch upon a note, how do you awaken a note, how you sustain it over a desired period of time, and how do you put it to rest. ਜਿਵੇਂ ਉਸਤਾਦ ਰਹੀਮ ਬਖਸ਼ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਯਾਦ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਉਸਤਾਦ ਰਹੀਮੁਦੀਨ ਖਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ, ਉਸਤਾਦ ਅਲਾਬੰਦੇ ਖਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ बेटे, वो कहते ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ बेटा अक्षरों को इतना घिस घिस के हल्का कर दो कि कहीं उसके भार के तले स्वर ना कुचला जाए। Look at the finesse. मतलब की कहोगे तुसी सिर्फ एक कुर्बान जाइए। इन्नी होश, कहते अल्फाज जो हैं उसको घिस घिस कर यूं हल्का कर दो, कहीं उसके बोझ के तले स्वर ना कुचला जाए। कितनी बड़ी गल है। सो ਇਹ आई थिंक दोनों एस्पेक्ट्स चाहिए ने। ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੰਟੈਂਜੀਬਲ ਐਸੈਟਸ ਨੂੰ ਜੇ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਨੈਰੇਟਿਵ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਹੈਗਾ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਰਹੀਮ ਬਖਸ਼ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਦੱਸੀ, ਕਿੰਨਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਦੱਸੀ, ਹਲੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਂਝੀ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਨੈਰੇਟਿਵ ਹੈਗਾ। ਬਟ ਦੈਟ ਇਜ਼ ਦ ਇੰਟੈਂਜੀਬਲ ਐਸੈਟਸ। ਦੋਜ਼ ਇਫ ਵੀ ਲੂਜ਼ them, then they are gone. Then we have to restart, we have to reinvent the wheel. The idea कि गहना ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਹਾਰਵੈਸਟ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕੀ ਹੈ, what is ਟੂਲਸ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਟੂਲਸ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸੋਚਣੇ ਪੈਣਗੇ ਕਿ ਟੂਲਸ ਦਾ ਕਨਸਟਰਕਟ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਹੋਏਗਾ। What do you think of this?
I think that I really do agree with you, and I do stand corrected. I think you're right, and that was such a beautiful metaphor. Because when you take a piece of gold and you create a beautiful, and you आप उसको गहन मतलब आप उसको उसके ऊपर you ornament it, you give it a form, you give it a shape, and then you wear it, versus it going back into a piece of gold, which is formless. So I think that's also, and it's kind of sad. It also broke my heart because it resonated, because I think that's where a lot of us young people find ourselves. because, I mean, I'm very lucky that I have a beautiful teacher and a rabbi, but I see a lot of my other friends also. I mean, and also like, everyone, like, for instance, I told you that like something that's been in my heart for many years and I haven't been able to um, really express it, is that I have been very drawn to, the Sikh spiritual tradition of recitation and all. And I don't, how does one learn? How does one find out? How does the real deal? Everything is just YouTubed and remixed and it's fine. I mean, it's kind of instant coffee style fine, but if you really want to get something, you're really looking for you're searching for gehnas in like little lumps of gold, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's tough. It's a tough time, and I think because we've allowed that to happen to our traditions, especially like a lot of vernacular traditions and folk traditions.
Yeah. No, and including the classical traditions. Somehow they've been they ਮਲਕੀਅਤ ਬਣ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਲੋਕ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਕਿਤੇੋਂ ਨੇ ਪਰ ਆਪਣੀ ਮਲਕੀਅਤ ਬਣਾ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਉਸ ਤੇ ਦਾਵਾ ਕੋਈ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਮੈਂ ਅਕਸਰ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਜ਼ਿਕਰ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਮੋਹਨ ਸ਼ਾਹ ਨਾਲ ਕਿ ਡੂਰਿੰਗ ਮਾਈ ਰਿਸਰਚ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੱਸਣੀ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਜੀ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਨਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਰ ਹੈਗਾ ਅੱਗੇ ਬੜਾ ਕੁਝ ਮਰ ਗਿਆ ਅੱਗੇ ਸਤਿਆਨਾਸ਼ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਅੱਗੇ ਥਿੰਗਸ ਹੈਵ ਟਰਨਡ ਇਨਟੂ ਰੂਇਨਸ ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ if you don't feel like, all right, keep what you have created, but you cannot hold what you have received. That doesn't belong to you. So they were shocked ki argument hai, and it worked at most. I mean, with all the elders I worked with, they understood immediately when there was a little pushback. They realized that heritage is that which doesn't belong to them. They are custodians only. They are storekeepers. And a storekeeper's job is to make sure a respectable someone, a zehen, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਚ ਅਦਬ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਚ ਹੋਣ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਚ ਹੋਣ ਉਹ ਜੇ ਆਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਸੁਪਾਤਰ ਜੇ ਆਵੇ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਣਾ ਫਰਜ਼ ਹੈਗਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਇਲਮ ਕਦੇ ਮਾਫ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰੇਗਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਲਮ ਬਣ ਕੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਨਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੋਲ ਰੱਖ ਕੇ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਪਾਤਰ ਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਤੇ ਇਲਮ ਬਖਸ਼ਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਲਮ ਬੜਾ ਮਚਲਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਬੜਾ ਉਹ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖਦਾ ਹੈ ਬਦਲਾ ਲੈਂਦਾ ਪੂਰਾ ਅੱਛਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗਹਿਣੇ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੋਨੇ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਮਤਲਬ I was adding to the narrative because that's one aspect one that you said one that other is what I added to that so it's not that you weren't actually corrected it was just added the narrative ਜਿਵੇਂ ਦੂਜਾ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਸਿੱਕੇ ਦਾ ਦੋਨੋਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਕੇ ਰਹਿ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ so that is a very important point that you made but when only made singularly people can somehow think that the other aspect is the assets which are old are dispensable but ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ value system I was just adding to that ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚਾਹ ਪੀ ਰਹੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬੜਾ I was feeling very jealous of course but can you show me the cup that you were using you were drinking from
Yes, this is my favorite cup.
Why is it your favorite?
Because, shall I tell you why? Because it's really beautiful. It's really thin china, and like in America, हमारे पास यहाँ पे बहुत बड़े mugs type होते हैं, and everything is big and bulky, and but it's like really इसपे बहुत ऐसे नफीस से छोटा सा वो काम हुआ है.
But whose is it?
I don't know whose it is, but I got it from a thrift.
Oh no, I see. But there was something from your. I thought that what was your grandmother's? You were telling me something. What was that? I thought it was a cup. There was something that you mentioned.
This is my mom's. And this has stuff from my grandmother. This.
Okay.
She gave me this.
Yes, that was my point of the intangible asset. The reason I asked you, I thought it was a cup. It was that. Can you show it again? It was not there on the screen fully. Can you just your mom's thing? Yes. So that is the intangible asset. If you keep it outside, for example, if you were to keep it outside, and somebody was to just pick up and say and take it away. And you were to say you can take it if you like. So, what will be the narrative? How we as conservators of intangible heritage, I mean, I can maybe use this as an analogy. कि वो जो ले जाएगा ना, उन्हें पूछेगा कि तू किथों आया? वो कहेगा, where does it come from? If that person's mother or spouse or children or whoever asks took this asset home, he said it was lying outside some house. And I don't know the number, but it said that in a big that anybody who likes it can carry it. That will be the new narrative. That will be the intangible narrative that goes with it, right? All other history to it will be gone. So the history keeping or memory keeping is when you will pass it on along with the narrative. I was visiting the Victoria and Albert Museum way back in '96, and Susan Strange and Graham Parlett, they were all there. Debbie Swallow was there, very young at the time, of course, and I went to the godown, which was never on display. एक ताउच सिगा ਉਹਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ tag ਹੈ ਮੈਂ ਕਿ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜੀ ਉਹ is sorry we've lost the information because the tag is gone. Now tags, there are few tags, but there's a lump of tags and we won't know which instrument a tag belonged to because the thread's broken. The collection of tags, but they fortunately on that taus the maker engraved, it was part of the design. ਉਹ ਗੁਰਮੁਖੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਲੈਟਰਸ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਸ਼ਾਹਮੁਖੀ 'ਚ ਵੀ ਲਿਖੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਗੁਰਮੁਖੀ 'ਚ ਵੀ ਲਿਖੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇਟਿਵ ਇੰਡੀਜਨਸ ਸਕ੍ਰਿਪਟ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਨੇ ਰਿਕਵਰ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਰਿਵਾਈਵ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਦ ਬਿਗ ਰੈਵੋਲੂਸ਼ਨ ਇਨ ਦੈਟ ਸੈਂਸ ਕਿ ਇੰਪੋਜ਼ਡ ਸਕ੍ਰਿਪਟ ਤੋਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇਟਿਵ ਸਕ੍ਰਿਪਟ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਆਜ਼ਾਦੀ ਦੀ ਜਾਂ ਸਟੈਂਡਿੰਗ ਅਪ ਔਨ ਇਟ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਸਟੈਂਡਿੰਗ ਔਨ ਇਟਸ ਫੀਟ ਵਾਸ ਵਨ ਆਫ ਦ ਮੇਜਰ ਮੂਮੈਂਟਸ Guru Angad then perfected it and started writing things in that as well. ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਸੀ ਨਿਹਾਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਨਾਮਧਾਰੀ ਤਰਨ ਤਾਰਨ 1886 ਉਹ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਉਹ ਨੱਚੇ Graham Parlett was so happy and I wrote it down for them. So otherwise it was all gone. Which year was it? Who made it? Where it came from? Was it Punjab or elsewhere? Where does it come from? So I think बस वो मैं कहने दी जी गल कर analogy I think we can move on now. We've spoken, but I think it's an important aspect. We're talking about vidya, about ilm and alam. लोगों ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਵਿਦਿਆ ਤੇ ਵਿਦਵਾਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ. It is important for people to understand how when we are talking about when you're sharing, we're taking us around regions and terrains. ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕੀ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਅਸੀਂ ਐਸੈਟਸ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਇੰਟੈਂਜੀਬਲ ਐਸੈਟਸ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਉਹਦਾ ਮੁੱਲ ਕੀ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੈਲਿਊ ਕੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਰਿਸਪੌਂਸਿਬਲ ਅਟੈਂਡੈਂਟਸ ਬਣਨਾ ਹੈ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕੁਆਂਟੀਫਿਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਰਨੀ ਪਏਗੀ ਜਾਂ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਕੁਆਂਟੀਫਿਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਉਹਦੀ ਇਵੈਲੂਏਸ਼ਨ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਐਸੈਟ ਦੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਨਾਪਦੇ ਹੋ ਤੋਲਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਕਾਬਿਲੇ ਗੌਰ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਇਟਸ ਵਰਦੀ ਆਫ ਸੇਫ ਕੀਪਿੰਗ ਇਟ ਇਜ਼ ਵਰਦੀ ਆਫ ਸੈਲੀਬ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਇਟ ਇਜ਼ ਹਿਊਮਨ ਹੈਰੀਟੇਜ ਇਟ ਇਜ਼ ਵਰਲਡ ਹੈਰੀਟੇਜ ਇਟ ਬਿਲੋਂਗਸ ਟੂ ਮੀ irrespective of where it came from, that I identify with it. ਜਿਵੇਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬੜੀ ਸੋਹਣੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਹੀ ਕਿ I was very moving actually ਕਿ ਵੀ ਅੰਦਰ ਪਿਆ ਹੈ ਛੁਪਿਆ ਸੁੱਤਾ ਪਿਆ ਹੈ ਜਾਗਦਾ ਕਦੇ ਕੁਝ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਖੜਾ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਕਿ ਹਾਂ ਜੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸੱਦਿਆ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਅੱਛਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅੰਦਰ ਹੀ ਸੀ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਹਾਂ ਜੀ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਿਤੇ ਗਿਆ ਹੀ ਨਾ ਸੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ
I literally feel that songs I speak to you.
ਅਗਲਾ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਗਾਣਾ ਸੁਣਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਪਸ਼ਪ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ
ठीक है अभी we just talked about songs that seem to be yours even though it makes no sense. So this one song that I heard only just 6 years ago, it's actually we were talking about how we again this intangible asset of a place. Like I mean this song is from Kashmir. And Kashmir, I think as a South Asian, everyone has heard of it. Everyone has an imagination of it. Everyone has an opinion of it. And we all have our own personal relationships to it as well. Deep in our, and I don't want to get into what those could be. But what I'm saying is that, it was so interesting for me, like 6 years ago, I met some Kashmiri students at a concert. And they said, and they were speaking and they said sing in a Kashmiri language. And I said, Kashmiri kya Pahari language? He said, no, Kashmiri language. I did not know that Kashmiri as a language existed. And then I came across this young guy on the lake singing this song, and I fell in love with it. It spoke to me immediately. And I felt like it was my song. And the more I got to know the history behind the song, the more beautiful that song became for me. It literally started becoming that, the value of it.
Fantastic.
Because it was written by the last Queen of Kashmir. And she and her husband was, I think, incarcerated and killed when she had soon after they got married, but she was expecting him back to Kashmir, and he never came back, and she kept waiting for him, and she became this like sad proverbial queen who then, because she was a very talented singer and poet, started writing poetry for the rest of her life. Later on became a Sufi, and all of her work became so famous that she is now one of the most celebrated poets. And her songs are considered folk songs, even though they came from like a queen. I've never heard of a queen's songs being folk songs, It's so unusual. But this is the song, and it's called Roche. Roche is kind of, I think, loosely translated means rootna. Roche means jab koi root ke chala jata hai without telling you. So this is.
And my analysis, which I shared with you of what I thought of you, was when I heard Roche itself.
Oh, really?
So your sampling was done like. I think I love that song, the rendition, the production. I think it came well. The way it builds up, from, of course, our listeners today would have fortune actually, because this is much more powerful than musical productions. This is us, organic, us unplugged, as we are, natural. And productions, when there's a lot of work that goes on. So a badi opportunity hondi hai to hear you, for example, in this case, to sing that in this manner, to share with us. It's very important. Before you go there, there's one person. I usually don't go by looking at comments much, but respond ਉਹਨੇ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ I think Saima Fareed ਕਰਕੇ ਹਨਗੇ, because it's written, I must quote her. वो कहती है कि I agree with you about this, but चीज़ उठाने वाले को उसकी कदर हो, then only can a worthwhile narrative be carried forward, even if it is in a different direction. So मैं क्योंकि तालीम ਦੇ ਨਾਲ educative process ਦੇ ਨਾਲ related ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ respond ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਨਾ ਸੋਚਣਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲਿਖਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਹਨ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ I'm telling that to her, that so that you don't think I'm avoiding that or something. It's just a matter of because there's so much that I want to talk that sometimes questions are answered later or I handle them later. But this is very important what you said. It doesn't work like that. Vidya or ilm jada hega na, it's like the touchstone, paras hega. I have seen ilm in the hands of idiots, literally idiots, people who were unworthy of music, but then they at least carried it. It's a cross-pollination of sorts. We can always stand knowledge or tawarikh, history can stand a generation of 2, 3, 4, 5 generations of idiots, But then if the asset continues, one beautiful soul can come and receive it, and then, oh wow, this is so beautiful. The asset lives on. So I, as a conservator, I don't care whether it's a patra or a supatra or a kupatra. I am interested in an intangible asset remaining, surviving, come what may, in whichever manner possible. So yes, it is very chic to say, very poetic to say, अरे चीज उठाने वाला उसकी कदर तो हो. I mean, चीज उठा सकना भी तो एक काबिलियत है ना भैया. वो भी तो एक काबिलियत है. उससे आप कैसे मुकर सकते हैं कि चीज को उठा सकना नाकाबिलियत है कोई. हर कोई चीज उठा नहीं सकता. हर एक के पास गहने होते हैं, काबिलियत होती. कोई चीज़ झट से उठा लेता है। कई उठा लेते हैं पर उनको मालूम ही नहीं होता कि क्या उठाया, उनको लगता है कि बस संगीतक बहुत कमाल की म्यूज़िक है, उनको मालूम ही नहीं होता टेक्स्ट के बारे में, उसकी हिस्ट्रीज के बारे में। सो चीज़ बचनी चाहिए, चाहे वो किसी सियाने के हाथ में हो, किसी याने के हाथ में हो। आई डोंट थिंक it is proper to say that या कंडीशनैलिटी हो। कई बार अगर अगर मालूम आपको, अगर मैं एक उदाहरण या जिसे कहें एग्जाम्पल दे सकूं, एनालॉजी दे सकूं, कि मान लीजिए मैं एक उस्ताद हूं, उस्तादों में उस्ताद हूं, पर मेरी जैसे मेरे उस्ताद मेरे दादा भाई कहते थे कि बेटा बरखुरदार मेरे थे ना अद्धे वरदान ने ते अद्धे शराब ने, उस्ताद पे अर्जन सिंह तरंगड़। ये भी देखो पर्सपेक्टिव है। मैं कह कि मैं हंसे हंसी बड़ा, आप भी बड़ा हंसे। He was 70 years apart, 1900 born। ते कहने लगे कि अद्धे वरदान इस करके कि मैनू इल्म मिलिया वड्डे विद्वाना कोलों, पर अद्धे शराप इस करके ने, मतलब ब्लेसिंग्स जड़ियां हैगियां ने, हाफ ब्लेसिंग्स for which I received knowledge. I had the chance to study some of the greatest masters that ever lived in that generation. But adhe jede curses ne, because he was very tough, he would fight and win competitions and so on. Adhe jede hage ne curses, ona karke kehde 47 to baad kehde I've lived a life of anonymity. People just forgot about me after 47. So he would laugh about it. So, but I think knowledge remains. It is to continue and finish my analogy, that if I am blessed to receive knowledge and be a maestro, but if I'm cursed enough not to receive a patra, a worthy recipient, what do I do? Do I take the knowledge with me, or do I make it disseminable in whichever way possible? Because knowledge should outlive me. That is important. It's a key factor which has been missed or misplaced by some of the masters or ustads who have lived, and pandits who have lived in the last century plus. That I would like to address and push back on that for. My apologies that you were taking us to Kashmir, but if you would like to address what I just answered, or to the query that this wonderful person shared so very kindly, I would be very grateful if you would like to say something on that.
Yeah, I think I'll go straight to the song.
Okay.
I think I was also thinking that I would mention that again about the interconnectedness. So when I heard this song, it reminded me a lot of Turkish songs somehow. And then when I spoke to my friends, I said, it's funny because I've heard, of course, you hear a lot of Sanskrit words in the language. You heard some Persian words in the language. I said, but I'm hearing a Turkish kind of overlay on the language. And they said, yes, we do have a lot of Turkic influence as well. And, it's also mountains. And so it felt very much like the musical space to me felt very Central Asia, which is not how I'd ever imagined it, ever before I heard a song from there. And so then what I did was that I actually put it with a turku, which is like a Turkish folk song right at the end, which is it says uzun ince bir yoldayım, which means I'm going on a long, narrow, straight road. I don't know where I'm going, but मैं इसी राह पे चलते जा रहा हूँ, और किस हाल में हूँ मुझे पता नहीं है, लेकिन मैं इस पे चलता चला जा रहा हूँ. So to me, like that kind of even the theme of these two sentiments felt very similar to me. So I fused that in the end. So I'll sing it, the Roche and then Uzunin. Sure. सुलहमा रोशे रोशे बलोम्यान पुशे मदनो सुलहमा सुलहमा रोशे रोशे बलोम्यान पुशे मदनो सुलहमा अतिथि रोस्तो यारू कोत्सुलो खाजो उत्कारू कोत्सुलो खाजो उत्कारू वड़कार म्यूनी चारो बलोम्यान पुशे मदनो सुलहमा सुलहमा रोशे रोशे ओशे मदनो मदनो सुलहमा ओचमुखा दूरे दूरे सनगोम स्वर्गच्छूरे सनगोम स्वर्गच्छूरे छस्वदान सूरे सूरे बलोम्यान पुशे मदनो सुलहमा uzuni ceviryodayım Sulhama gidiyorum gündüz gece Sulhama uzun ince bir yoldayım सुलहमा रोशे 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 रोशे
Wow, wow, wow. Very beautiful. Any बड़ी अच्छी उदात दी तान तुसी लेंदे हो बहुत ही तान है ये कंपोजिशन भी पुरानी हैगी है या ਤੁਹਾਡੀ अपनी कंपोजिशन हैगी है
सो जो बेसिक कॉम्पोजिशन है रोशे की वो तो यही है कहते हैं कि उन्होंने ही बनाई है
अच्छा अच्छा
उन्होंने आई सी अब्बा खातून की कॉम्पोजिशन लेकिन बीच में जो वो that's a thing that I put in myself
अच्छा
kind of give me Turkic
There's
kind
variation
of
in a way. Uh-huh.
variation, and then there's another couple of variations I put in, and then
Mhm.
the end bit, of course, was improvised and
Of course, yeah, that's
kind
essential.
of
Hmm.
Turkish kind of
Oh,
thing.
that's
But
beautiful.
it felt like one song, you know. For those people who didn't understand it, they didn't know that it went into Turkish. So the funny thing is that they have a translator in Coke Studio,
Mhm.
lovely, lovely lady, Zara, and she's a friend now. So she called me and she said, "Mujhe ye no, I'm dealing with a Turkish expert, but I can't, with a Kashmiri expert, but I don't. They don't know what these words mean." I was like, "Because it's not Kashmiri."
I see. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And this was recent, like this is 2019, isn't this publication with the Coke Studio?
This is November. This is November.
And how did you choose this? Did they like it, or was it your choice? How did the publication come?
Again, I really think that when a song is ready, you know, it arrives and then it wants to get out, it gets out. Like we're just conduits. Songs have their own souls, their own minds, their own destiny. So this song I'd heard 6 years ago, and with a musician friend Zain Ali, him and I, both of us were really excited about it, and we made a demo. But this friend of mine, he plays with a very, very, busy and famous artist in Pakistan. So he never had time to finish it. And it just so happened that he was part of Book Studio house band. And I had already recorded my songs. It was decided what I was going to sing. And then Ruhail happened to hear the song
Mhm.
on his phone, and
I
he
see.
called me and he said, "I want you to do this song." I said, "Okay, I'll do it."
I see. So Rohel has a part of the blame. He shares the blame, is it?
Yeah, he shares quite a bit of blame
I see.
in this story.
That's nice. Actually, listen, you sing in, I mean, everybody's introduced those who, I mean, from my world, many of those who are getting to meet with you, like many from your world are getting to meet with this certified illiterate from this side of the line. Um, but you, some I've already heard Urdu, Dari, Pashto, Farsi, Turkish, Punjabi, Saraiki, and other languages, Azeri, as you mentioned. Um, India languages to see Gandeo. Is there a particular language that somehow feels intimate? I mean, something that you feel like yours, like Maboli, as if it's like your thing. Is there something that somehow draws you closer, or a song in a particular language that draws you, or somehow you feel you identify with a language, particular language that reverberates deep within more than others?
I think I was always drawn to languages because I was always drawn to sound.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, no, it's the song. If I like a
Okay.
song in a language, I'm drawn, and I'm drawn to languages because of the phonetics of languages, you know, because like to me, I guess I'm more invested in the sound aspect of
I see.
the zone that
I
G.
see. Uh-huh.
So I love them for different reasons. Of course, I mean, for instance, I've sung the least in Punjabi, but I love Punjabi. I've grown up loving Punjabi and listening to
अच्छा
Punjabi
ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ
songs.
ਬੋਲਣੀ ਆਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ?
मैं बोल सकती हूँ लेकिन मैं झिझकनी हाँ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬੜਾ ਤੰਗ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ ਅੱਜ
ਦੇਖੋ ਮੂੰਹੋਂ ਕਢਵਾਈ ਲਈ ਅਸੀਂ, ਭਾਵੇਂ ਸ਼ਰਾਰਤ ਕਰਕੇ ਹੀ ਸਹੀ, ਪਰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਸੁਣੀ ਲਈ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਜ਼ੁਬਾਨੀ। ਸੋਹਣੀ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਹੋ। ਇਹਦੇ ਚ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਹੋਵੇ ਤੇ ਬੰਦਾ ਬੇਝਿਜਕ ਹੁੰਦਾ। ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ ਝਿਜਕ ਦਾ ਅੱਖਰ ਹੈ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਮਤਲਬ that word doesn't exist in ਪੰਜਾਬੀ। ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਬੇਸ਼ਰਮ ਹੁੰਨੇ ਆ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਐਨ ਰੱਜ ਕੇ ਅੰਗੜਾਈਆਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਨੱਕ ਉੱਚਾ ਕਰਕੇ ਅੱਡੀ ਉੱਚੀ ਕਰਕੇ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਜਾਈਦਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਬੜੇ ਨਖਰੇ ਵਾਲੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਇਟਰਨਲ ਪੈਰੇਨੀਅਲ ਸਨੌਬਸ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡੇ ਨਕਸੜੇ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਨੇ ਜੇ ਰੱਬ ਨੇ ਬਣਾਏ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਖੈਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਜੋਕਸ ਅਪਾਰਟ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਛੇੜਿਆ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਛੇੜ ਲਵਾਂ
जी
ਅੱਛਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬੜੀ ਮਜ਼ੇਦਾਰ ਗੱਲ ਦੱਸ ਰਹੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਸੋ ਕਿ ਵੀ ਗਾਣਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ that it touches there are many it can come to you from many you know many directions so is it also let's say there's a language that you don't know right but is it the singer or the sung, or the melody, or so let's say the language is not yet coming to you, but does the melody comes and knocks to you first, or a singer who is sung it ਉਹਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਗਾਇਨ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ capacity, capability ਸੀ, sensibility, ਜੋ ਵੀ ਉਹਨੇ ਪਰੋਇਆ ਹੈਗਾ, the way that person is beaded the mala, the garland, does that come knocking to you? How does a song approach when you're not, you know, sort of introduced to the language yet? Does it come knocking, or is it only after learning the meaning of the song does that make sense to you, or does it feel
No,
close?
I mean, most of the times that I've heard a song, I haven't heard it in its most, most professional, or
I see.
let's just say, I haven't heard songs. Even even Sulhama, I heard a very heartfelt version of it, but it was sung on a guitar by a young by a young artist and thinker and activist or whatever, and so it had a very different flavor. So I think I'm not sure. I think what happens is that I don't know. Actually, I've never really thought of it. All I know is that वो मिलता है तो मैं पागलों की तरह भी
I see.
पर इसके पीछे कुछ भी मिलता है, something something in the song speaks to me, and then I start trying to sing it. And if I'm singing it, and like for instance, this in Roche, 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 Malumya, Roche. For me, it was that note. It was that
I see.
particular, like,
Very
to me,
beautiful
it's
point.
like
So
in a
that's
weird
how it
way,
came
it's
to
like
you. I see.
that weird kind of thing, that tension. So then when that little thing was enough for me to be drawn to that tune, and then I just kept trying to look for other versions of it to understand how other people have rendered it. If this is a flourish that one person has put in, or if it's actually part of the melody, or if it's something that how much of it is part of the actual architecture of the song.
Right.
So then it just starts getting together, and usually I've never been disappointed. There's never been like a song that I've liked first and then said, oh, I don't like it.
I see.
So
It is very important, because what you shared, thank you for telling me that, because that particular moment is also very appealing. I mean, it appealed to me, that moment. ਇੱਦਾਂ ਲੱਗ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣ ਕੇ ਕਿ it's almost like, let's say if I were to take the object, let's say this is a diamond, and ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬੜੇ ਇੱਕ as a jeweler ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਲਿਸ਼ਕ ਦਿਖਾਣੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, but you know that ਲਿਸ਼ਕ will come here, but ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਾਣ ਕੇ ਦਿਖਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, ਇੱਧਰੋਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਲਿਸ਼ਕਾਂ ਦਿਖਾਈ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, ਹੀਰੇ ਦੀ ਗੁਣ ਦਿਖਾਈ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, ਤੇ ਬੜੇ ਹੀ unassumingly ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫਿਰ ਆ ਵੀ ਦਿਖਾਉਂਦੇ ਹੋ. So almost like you show 20 other glitters, ਉਹਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੀਰੇ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਲੌ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਰੋਸ਼ਨੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਗਹਿਣਾ ਜੌਹਰ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਉਹਦਾ, ਪਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹ ਲਿਆਂਦੇ ਹੋ, this is a slow build up of the moment, so that makes sense, that is why. ਅੱਛਾ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫਿਲਮਾਂ 'ਚ ਵੀ, ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨੀ ਫੀਚਰ ਫਿਲਮਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਊਂਡ ਟਰੈਕ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈਗਾ, ਬਿਨ ਰੋਏ, ਹੋਮਨ ਜਹਾਨ, ਮੰਟੋ ਐਂਡ ਵੇਰਨਾ, ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬਾਲੀਵੁੱਡ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸ਼ਿਰਕਤ ਪਾਈ ਹੈ, ਮਦਰਾਸ ਕੈਫੇ, ਹਾਈਵੇ ਐਂਡ ਫਤੂਰ, and TV series, Basami, Qasem Sultan, and एक थी मरियम, तुम मेरे पास रहो, नूर हुई एंड कैसे है
Nurul.
नसीब, नूरुल, अच्छा आई सेड हुई किथों आ गया है, उल, हाँ, नूरुल एंड how is it, how's the experience of doing these you know, film productions and film and television? What is it to you? Is it like work, or do you enjoy working with these kind of productions, publications?
I enjoy it immensely. As a matter of fact, when I was younger, because I was basically, like I said, I've always been a mimic. So there's
Oh,
like a mimic and an actor inside of me. So for me, like, you know, that aspect of it, and when you're really learning and in that zone, that's, I mean, of course, mimicry comes into that also when you're looking at oral traditions and all.
mhm.
But you know, it's really nice um, to do this stuff because you know, you take a tune and then you have to put yourself in a certain person's perspective, or you have to become a certain character. You know, it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like wearing a mask and going to a fancy party or something.
I see.
So it's nice.
Can you
Yeah,
show
it's fun.
me some mimicry? What mimicry can you share with us? That's very interesting. I didn't know that part.
Oh
कुछ
my
करके
God.
दिखाओ,
You're
या
really
अब तो फंस गए.
uncomfortable. बहुत ज्यादा, बहुत बुरी तरह से. Okay, I can do like let's see. Um, uh, what can I do?
I
Oh
have
my
no
God,
idea. You've stumped me. I had no idea that you do mimicry. I would have sort of done a lot of research beforehand.
there's
I would have stalked some of your buddies, maybe stolen, gotten your dad's number, your mom's number, called them कि क्या पूछूं, कौन सी मिमिक्री उसकी अच्छी है. So वो तो अब मौका नहीं मिला, तुम अब बता रहे हो जब एंड मौके पे, तो अब तुम्हें ही चुनना होगा.
अच्छा ठीक है. चलें तो क्या किसी का कोई गाना
हाँ,
सुना दूं या
गाना
ऐसे?
सुना सकते हो, या किसी की बात, कोई डायलॉग, फिल्मी डायलॉग, कुछ भी एनीथिंग,
नहीं,
और सब कुछ ही.
गाना
दो तीन, गिव अस 2-3 एग्जांपल्स, मोर द मेरियर.
अच्छा ओके. टीवी मतलब दिस इज टीवी, आई एम टीवी. um okay. I can sing a little bit of like Nazia Hudson, who was to love as a child.
Uh-huh.
So I can try and like
Yeah.
mimic her voice. आप जैसा कोई मेरी जिंदगी में आए तो बात बन जाए. I can't sing it like that. आप जैसा कोई मेरी जिंदगी में आए तो बात बन जाए, हाँ बात बन जाए. फूल को बहार, बहार को चमन, दिल को दिल, बदन को बदन, हर किसी को चाहिए तन मन का मिलन. काश मुझ पर ऐसा दिल कोई आए, बात बन जाए, बात बन जाए.
That's fantastic. So, I have a naughty thought.
What?
Let's see if you can mimic this. What's your
Yeah.
note? What's your note? Can you just play the sa of yours? What is the scale?
It's G.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay. मेरा बांका बर खुरदार, मेरा बांका बर खुरदार, आए रे ग मा प म ग रे ग रे सा, मेरा बांका बर खुरदार, मेरा बांका बर खुरदार.
और
मेरा
मेरा माँ का
मेरा बांका बरखुरदार।
मेरा बांका
मेरा बांका बरखुरदार, मेरा बांका बरखुरदार।
Okay, can I do it on a slightly higher thing?
Yeah, we can
Higher note?
go.
मेरा बांका बरखुरदार। What is it? Is that?
मेरा बांका बरखुरदार, मेरा बांका बरखुरदार। ओ मेरा बांका बरखुरदार, मेरा बांका बरखुरदार।
Yeah.
मेरा बांका, I'll sing again. मेरा बांका बरखुरदार, मेरा बांका बरखुरदार।
मेरा बांका बरखुरदार, मेरा बांका बरखुरदार।
रात चांदनी रूड़ी उते खड़ा होके करदा बांका बरखुरदार।
What do you say?
मेरा भाई अर्जन सिंह तरंगर taught me this, कहते बरखुरदार याद कर ला कम आ जाएगी किते। So ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹਾ ਵੀ repertoire याद मैनू कराया गया। कहते मेरा बांका बरखुरदार, so he would do a laugh, very serious. मेरा बांका बरखुरदार, मेरा बांका बरखुरदार, मेरा बांका। बड़ा बांका बरखुरदार, पता नहीं केदी गल होएगी, हीर दी होएगी, अब रांझे दी होएगी, केदी होएगी गल, किसे राजे महाराजे नवाब दी होएगी गल। तो कहते रात चांदनी, कदा रात चांदनी, रात चांदनी। लोग इंतजार करते सन, वो पूरा 15-20 मिनट गाना उन्होंने। रात चांदनी, देन रूड़ी उत्ते खड़ा होके। रूड़ी इज लाइक द trash mound outside the village. रात चांदनी रूड़ी उते खड़ा होके करदा, ऐसे डंकी। मतलब खोते दी गल हो रही हिंदी है।
It's like the tiu movement.
Yeah. So रात चांदनी रूड़ी उते खड़ा होके, रात चांदनी रूड़ी उते खड़ा होके।
मुझसे नहीं होगा ये।
करदा, come on. You claim that you're a mimic. Come on. You can't do that.
I'm sorry.
Okay. I think people are going to freak out if I don't let you sing. But anyway, tell me about the films we were talking about, that we were talking about your films and so on and so forth. Is there some song that you've done for a film or series that is something very dear to you that you can share with us today?
Yeah. So I mean, like, I sang. I've always been a big fan of, in college and all, we used to listen to a lot of YaarAnād.
I see.
And I was really happy to have sung for him in one of these films. And it was a sweet lori, which kind of reminded me a lot of a lori that my grandmother used to sing to me, Dheere Se Aaja, but it was in Haryanvi.
Oh, can you sing that? Come on, you have to. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, I'd love to sing that, sure. So it's called Suha Saha, which means red rabbit. का भी छोड़ना चैन से सोना रहना कारी कारी कोला सी रहना निंदी तोला तोला सी नैना तारों का बिछोना चैन से सोना गोटा गोटा गुदड़ी में घूमेगा घामेगा सुहासा मैना ने ले जाना हो तोता बोले पेड़ों पे पेड़ से पूरी से सुहासा नींदन में वो खाना ओ संगी साथी हम सुने तारे होना सुहासा अम्मा सुहासा अम्मा सुहासा अम्मा
वाह 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 कमाल दी है ए उन्होंने किथों सीखी
पता नहीं उन्होंने बनाई है शायद
Is your grandma made this up? Wow, that's
No,
a composition.
This is A.R. Rahman. This is the song that I
This is
sang
A.R.
for.
Rahman's. I see. I thought you were sharing your grandma's. I was like so amazed. I said, "Oh, that's your grandma's composition."
Wow.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
This is his composition. I see. My ignorance, because I haven't. I live in the ruins, you know. So, आजकल ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨਵੀਆਂ ਉਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਇਲਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ. This is a discovery. It's a beautiful composition. Very, very beautiful construct. No wonder you like it.
It's really pretty. It's got a little bit of that of you know, धीरे से आजा रे अखियाँ में निंदिया आजा रे आजा. That's the one that my grandmother used to sing. It's got a little bit, but then it's got so much more, you know.
Yes. And what do you remember something from your grandma? Why didn't you share something from her?
Was a very you know, my grandfather, well, my family, they actually, I come from quite a conservative family in that sense. Enlightened and conservative. So she lost her husband fairly young, and she was in very deep parda, you know, most of her life. But then she also, after she lost her husband, she also really like helped build, like started supporting herself, and helped build like assets. I mean, they had stuff, but like, you know, she became the main matriarch of the family. And, she was a beautiful, very graceful, and very, you know, very in her own way vivacious person. But not many people knew that side of her, because obviously, like, the private and the, you know, and the public it's very divided. So she used to sing to me all the time. I want to sing this one song that was her favorite. But with her, songs must have like some larger meaning, you know.
Of course. It's quite a story that you shared.
Yeah, she was lovely. Her name was Jamshida Begum. Sorry. Lyrics. हमारे दिल से न जाना, धोखा न खाना, दुनिया बड़ी बेईमान हो पिया, दुनिया बड़ी बेईमान। हमारे दिल से न जाना, धोखा न खाना, दुनिया बड़ी बेईमान हो पिया, दुनिया बड़ी बेईमान। हमारे मैं हूँ मीठे दो बोल यहाँ, मुश्किल है बोलना, मीठे दो बोल यहाँ, मुश्किल है बोलना। दुनिया के भेद कभी मन से ना खोलना, दुनिया से भेद कभी मन के ना खोलना। ओ झूठी है प्रीत यहाँ हो, कोई ना मीत यहाँ, कोई ना मीत यहाँ हो। बुरा है आज जमाना, टूटे जियाना, उलझन में है मेरी जान हो पिया, दुनिया बड़ी बेईमान। हमारे दिल से न जाना, धोखा न खाना, दुनिया बड़ी बेईमान। हमारे
Wow. That was a favorite, huh?
That was her favorite. She always loved, you know.
Would she have been so
sing.
happy that you were talking about your foray into film music? Um,
She really would have been.
isn't
She
it?
really would have. Yeah, she would always make me sing for her,
I
and
see.
we were very close. Not just as grandmother and granddaughter, but also as like buddies, and I like as a woman, as like a female friend. I got a lot from her, and I think because of her and my relationship with her, my idea, when it comes to forming intimate friendships and all, like age is not really a thing for me. So and I really enjoy the company of older people, and I can find that because the funny thing for me was that I became very like betakalluf with her at an early age, and rather than being scolded for it, like she was delighted by it. And so she used to call me Meri Saheli and things like that, and we used to share a lot. And I mean, a lot of the music I hear, I sing is because of her.
That's so sweet. We were talking about your film. Is there something that you had asked you? Of course, we had a little diversion in between. Something that you've performed or recorded for some film or television series that something is close, something that is closer to you or close to you. Does a song come to mind?
This one I really liked. There's many songs actually. There's this one song that I sang, and actually Abda ji sang part of it. I could sing a little bit of that if you like.
Yeah, fantastic.
यूं ही मुस्कुराएंगे, यूं ही हम खिल जाएंगे, नैनों की बातें जान गए तो दिल का कहना मान गए तो दोनों अमर हो जाएंगे। मौला मौला तू है मौला, 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 मौला मौला तू है हवाएं सुनना चाहे तो सुन ले अपने दिलों की सदाएं जैसे है गहरा नीला समंदर जैसे है गहरा नीला समंदर ऐसे मोहब्बत गहरी कर दे मौला मौला तू है मौला 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 मौला मौला.
Wow, wow. And this was from which work?
This is a song Bin Roy and Shani Arshad composed the song.
I see.
And yeah, and yeah, I guess it was. I was very excited that she was there. So, yeah.
And then this song of yours, which of course the award-winning film, Bollywood film, Lipstick Under My Burqa, in 2016, it won nearly 18 international film awards, and YaarAnād for the soundtrack of your TVC Diyar also won the Lux Style Award and a HUM Award. I don't know what happened. This connection just died. It just died on me. I'm going to now reconnect with Zeb, and I will. It's shocker. It's never happened before. I'm now trying to reconnect with her, and here you are. Let me get my voice back. The computer screen, Zeb, it just, it's not happened before. I don't know what was it. It just sort of became all dark suddenly, and the connection got severe. I cannot hear you yet. I don't know why. Let me see. Is your audio... Let me try to reconnect it again. Yes, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you. I said I had to apologize to your phone because it literally, it hated the song so much.
Oh no, my phone is here. It's a poor. Don't blame my phone.
The computer.
It's a computer. Yeah, it's a computer. But you said that you're buddies with old people. My white beard was getting very happy that that it's going to be okay. Now you just hated my computer. Anyway, my apologies to everyone concerned. We've got many dear people joining us back. And can I request you to start, maybe, can we start from where we were interrupted? You're singing a song, is it? Can we start from there again? Would you mind?
Sure. I was gonna sing Doli Mein.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a song that I thought was being sung by an Afghan. I thought that S.D. Burman was an Afghan singer.
Oh yeah, that was a fun story. I was about to ask you that one. Okay.
So my grandmother had 4 VHS cassettes that we used to. Of course, every time we'd go to her house, we'd always watch them. One of them was really sad. One was the Mirza Ghalib, set, and then she had Amar Prem.
I see.
And she had this movie called Amrit, and then this one other VHS cassette, I think, with like Kabuli songs or something, Kabul TV songs. And so I remember that, every time like Amar Prem would come on, I would think that this song was being sung by the same guy who sings like in Pashto, Biltun, who's like this big Lugar man, because to me, like the styles were so similar, and because we never really saw S.D. Burman's face, or never really heard of him like that as children. We'd heard of Mohammad Rafi and Kishore Kumar, but it's only later that you found out who S.D. Burman. But I thought they were the same person, and I think I'd like to sing these two songs to make
Yeah, it
you.
would be great. S.D. Burman is one of my favorites. Yeah.
This is why I made that this time. So this was I think it was. So डोली में बिठाई के कहाँ, डोली में बिठाई के कहाँ, लाए मोरे सजना के द्वार, डोली में बिठाई के कहाँ, बीते दिन खुशियों के चार, बीते दिन खुशियों के चार, देके दुख मन को हजार, डोली में बिठाई के मर के निकलना था, मर के निकलना था घर से सावरिया के, जीते जी निकलना पड़ा, फूलों जैसे पाँव पे पड़ गए छाल रे, कांटों पे जो चलना पड़ा, पतझड़ वो बन गए पतझड़, ओ बन गए पतझड़ ओ डोली में बिठाई के
Beautiful. So, I loved him. Yeah, he's quite a story also of defiance in a way. He's from a royal family, and he left everything, all his royal titles, estates, for music. He's
what music he brought? What music
and
he brought?
what I mean.
And then his own voice was just so
Jayega
gorgeous.
kahan musafir, I mean, these are.
रहते हैं ज्ञानी, दुनिया है फानी, पानी पे लिखी लिखाई. Yeah, Guide was another one that my mom, and she would love. Yeah.
कुछ सुनाओ ना Guide का. Why don't you sing something from Guide if you can recall something?
क्या से क्या हो गया बेवफा तेरे प्यार में चाहा क्या क्या मिला बेवफा तेरे प्यार में चलो सुहाना भरम तो टूटा आना के हुस्न क्या है
क्या बात, क्या लाइन है, वाह वाह।
कहती है जिसको प्यार दुनिया क्या चीज क्या भला है होना है और क्या बेवफा तेरे प्यार में कैसे क्या हो गया बेवफा तेरे प्यार में
क्या what I mean, he's quite a story, as I was mentioning. S.D. Burman Saab's work stands out, and is and that generation, you know, Naushad Saab, you know, starting with Ghulam Haider, you know, that the thing. I think Dr. Madan Gopal was also remembering him and a few others. What was that? Madam Noor Jahan also sang, no, that आवाज दे कहाँ है. These are amazing songs. I mean, कौन कहेगा कि पुराना है या नवा है? You know, these are timeless assets which are, and they are an example of how a certain intangible asset is heritage, and that it defies the idea of time. It is timeless. It's a timeless melody. You can't bind it in a certain. It's so human. It's so human that it is always relevant.
That's so true. That's so true. I keep finding it's like, you know, a good book or a good novel. You can keep going back to it, and it becomes a new thing each time. And that's how it is with these songs. I'm just not getting over them. I get over so many songs, but like these songs, I just don't get over them. So,
what else do you remember of S.D. Burman? Something that touched you so much कि तुसी तो किसी और नहीं सोचा कि S.D. Burman होएगा.
मैं तो बेलतून को समझती थी S.D. Burman. आपको बेलतून का गाना सुनाऊं क्या है पश्तो में?
प्लीज, बड़ा बढ़िया.
सब पश्तो S.D. Burman, पठान S.D. Burman.
I like that. The Pathan S.D. Burman.
Thank you. I just got a glass of water.
कितने ले आके देता है?
बस देख लें, अभी आप ही ने कहा था.
नहीं, कितने ले आके देता है पानी? मैंने पता नहीं लगा.
मेरे चाहने वाले हैं यहाँ पे बहुत सारे.
अच्छा, दस दो ना, केदी गुलामी करा रहे हो? Thanks to me.
Amade khade palam dolak tovaruna. Amade khade palam dolak tovaruna. Zama jana na marorala suna. Zama jana na marorala suna. Amade khade palam dolak tovaruna. Amade khade palam dolak tovaruna. Zama jana na marorala suna. Zama jana na marorala suna. Zard shamzar Gulazar Dishamzar, Zar Dishamzar, Gulazar Dishamzar. Canan zamazıt cananyam, Canan zamazıt cananyam, Canan zamazıt cananyam, Canan zamazıt cananyam. Kappa bazar mein kharsavi varsara zaman, Kappa bazar mein kharsavi varsara zaman. Zama janana maraudala suna, Zama janana maraudala suna, Zama janana maraudala suna. Zar disham zar, gulazar disham zar, Zar disham zar, gulazar disham zar, Zar disham zar, gulazar disham zar.
Wow. That's S.T. Burman, is it?
Doesn't it sound like S.T. Burman?
No, it sounds very, very, very Pathani. That's the beauty, no? The composer, when that person is able
But
to
I don't know why,
awaken
but
the
actually,
soil.
yeah.
Even it's I mean it's another film, Kabuliwala, because I was in Italy, stranded for 72 days until I left. That "Aay Mere Pyare Watan," that's also very unique in that sense. Have you ever tried singing that?
Which one?
"Aay Mere Pyare Watan, Aay Mere Bichde Chaman Tujh Pe Dil Qurban," that Kabuliwala film.
No, I've never sung that. No,
Really?
no.
You don't know that
Yeah.
song?
Never, I don't even know that song.
I see. It's
I
it's
don't
a
really
very
that.
it's Rabindranath Tagore wrote about this vendor from Kabul, and that
That's
story
right.
Kabuliwala. It was, I think, filmed twice. It was the second time when it was done is when the song was. I don't. It goes. आए मेरे प्यारे वतन, आए मेरे बिछड़े चमन, तुझ पे दिल कुर्बान, तू ही
Yeah.
मेरी आबरू, तू ही मेरी आरज़ू, तू ही मेरी जान, तेरे दामन से जो आए, तेरे दामन से जो आए, उन हवाओं को सलाम. I don't sing this. चूम लूं मैं उस जुबान को जिस पे आए तेरा नाम, सबसे प्यारी सुबह तेरी, सबसे रंगी तेरी शाम, तुझ पे दिल कुर्बान. And then the second stanza is very beautiful. It touches another note. माँ का दिल बन के कभी सीने से लग जाता है तू, और कभी नन्ही सी बेटी बन के याद आता है तू. This very beautiful aspect. I think these songs and the rabab playing, dun 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 dun. Achha,
Yeah, the rabab.
you know that song, isn't it? Can you recall that?
Yes, when you sang it, I realized that I
You
didn't know. I
did
mean, I
that.
know it, but I've heard it. I've heard it. It
I
is
see.
part of it. The one like Pathan.
I'm really not. My voice is all dead. I've been not sleeping, so I'm not supposed to
Beautiful.
be
I'm glad I didn't know
singing.
it. No, I'm glad I didn't know it, so you could sing it. And the,
And then you've been, you've studied with. But before we do that, I think you were the first Pakistani artist to serve as a music director for an award-winning Bollywood film, Lipstick Under My Burqa. How was that experience? How did that come about?
it was again, it was completely by chance. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful, experiences. that I've had I've spent a lot of time in Bombay, but that is definitely one of the highlights. Many Pakistanis have done songs for films, but I was the sole music director for the entire film, so I guess maybe that's the thing. And I was there for some recordings, and then my brother called me. He said, there's someone who wants to meet you in Bombay. I just got an email. And I met her, and it was Alankrita, and she was making her second film, and it was based out of Bhopal. We met. She gave me her script. I was leaving for Pakistan the next day. To Pakistan, read the script. We were emailing, and within like a week it was done. And then, a month or two later, I was there. And usually, with films, things don't really happen that quickly because पहले बात होती है, फिर कई महीने बाद, फिर वो script वो फिर बदलता है, फिर ये होता है, फिर वो होता है. Like things just moved so quickly with that. And I made and what was amazing about it was that it was a woman-centric film, but it was also like the team was, I met some really awesome women, working in that team. Another 4G friend that I made, Anvita, who wrote the lyrics penned the lyrics. She's a brilliant writer and all in Bombay, and became really good friends with them. And it just happened so nicely. And it was based out of Bhopal, and because Bhopal has this kind of Pathan, linkage, even though it was modern day Bhopal, but we wanted certain elements of that musicality to be a part of the soundtrack of the film. So I brought in some tones and made some tunes. Yeah.
So did you compose the whole work, or you how did you do that? So you're a composer too, is it? You compose.
Well, I composed some, yeah. I mean, when we first started, it started, kind of my cousin and I were making our own songs. We were composing our own songs and even writing our own songs, getting some help from friends. One of our biggest hits, my sister wrote. So, we started off doing pop songs kind of in that vein.
Like and your cousins and your sister, you already seem to be a musical gang, is it?
We're all a very big music. I told you that we're like, we're jugarus, but we do it. We're very musical, and music loving. Yeah, so we just did it together, and it became big. And that was that was what got big initially were our own songs. So
that's fun. And you've done not just for the Coke Studio, but you've done Pepsi Battle of the Bands.
Yeah.
Something that you feel very, very content about, something that you've done with Pepsi Battle of the Bands? Can you share something from that line of publications?
Actually, Pepsi Battle of the Bands, I just did one performance, which was a remake of an Atul Hassan song.
I see.
Yeah, it was kind of we made some new lyrics and created like a little thing to it. So that's it. Disco Divane. I mean, I could hum that to you if you like.
Yeah, why not? Just a line or two would be great, yeah, or as much as you would like to.
It's too low. गहराई नीला रसीला सुरीला समंदर आँखों में तेरे लिए बह रहा है हाँ ये कह रहा है तू खो मुलाकातों में आपास झील पीले जो प्यास है सांसों में जीना है खुल के अब डरना किसको डिस्को 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 दीवाने डिस्को दीवाने आह ओ डिस्को दीवाने आह आह हो डिस्को दीवाने आ, आ. So very
Fantastic.
different.
Very different. Yeah. And now I want to just to
You
come to your learning with Ustad Nasiruddin Sami
are on that note.
on that particular note.
Oh yeah, I sang it just to have that, to see that expression on your face.
No,
You were like,
I enjoyed some of the movements. I mean, they are very ragic. There's nothing alien. I don't know whom I was talking to today. Um, or yesterday maybe. I'm forgetting. There's so many calls that I do, but I did this O Sole Mio, for example, the Asa of Bilawal, the blend of Asa and Bilawal, and even Suhi. There's certain aspects which are very particular. So I see nothing, no melodic mode or no composition, whether it's from the east or the west, is alien as such. I think there's as distant to one tuning system to one rag as to another. So don't think I have. I'm not. I enjoy that music. So please don't
okay.
stereotype me.
I was just pulling your leg, G.
Okay, virtually that is. Sure. So tell me about when did you start learning? I mean, was it already when you were like already doing things for you had already found your fame and all that? You felt you needed to study.
Yes, actually, because it was never something that happened out of, out of it's not something that I did very premeditatively, and a career in music happened kind of on its own. So once it happened, and it kind of, after the first Coke Studio season that we were on, and it blew up, and there was all this like, suddenly there was a market. So it was a very scary time for me because I felt very overwhelmed by it. Some of it, of course, the love and being people wanting to listen to you, and the joy you brought in people's life it's always rewarding, and that's, of course, we can never get enough of it as artists. We're so greedy and insatiable. But one thing that I got very weirded out by was that, like, how am I suddenly a professional in this field? Like, I made some songs, and yes, I love music, but like, how can I just, like, it just wasn't computing. And maybe that's like my 4G upbringing, is that, like, you go through a certain system. You have to, if I have to be an engineer, I have to go to engineering school. If I have to, be a pilot, I have to go to aviation school. I have to know my craft. And also personally, because of the kind of music I had grown up with, and being friends with, my nani, and even just generally the kind of music we'd heard at home. I loved pop music, and I love, Western styles and all, because that's also a part of our, that's also our own music. We grew up with it. But my inclination was always towards learning more kind of, learning music and learning more Eastern music. And as you know, a Pathan, daughter of like a non-gharana musician, very English medium in that sense, I felt completely disconnected. And I had tried. I did have, ustads always, but somehow I wasn't really getting.
I told you.
It got, so I wasn't
I
really.
told you. You're supposed to put that airplane mode.
It's on airplane. I don't know why this. So so I mean, there was so I mean, I never really found anyone, and then finally I was connected with John. This is around 2013 or 2000, end of 2013, and with Nasiruddin Sami. And when I found him, it was also in a very interesting time, because at that time my cousin Hanya was kind of, she wanted to branch out into production, and she wanted to live in Canada for a while, and kind of the band was anyways naturally kind of, dissolving.
Mhm.
And it was never my dream to like be up on stage with a group of like musicians and be like a rock star. I mean, I don't really even want to be on stage, like I just wanted to know this music and sing the songs, and it's all about connection and family, and not just even family, just like connecting to people is important to me. So it was really nice. And then I met Ustad Nasiruddin Sami Jan, and then since then, like it's just I feel like tethered,
Mhm.
I mean, it's and that's when I like realized that it's not just like why you need like जो होता है ना कि उस्ताद की जरूरत सिर्फ इसलिए नहीं होती कि वो आपको गाना सिखाते हैं, but उससे ज्यादा बहुत कुछ, you know like an ustad, a real ustad is a rehbar. He shows you the way, he makes you understand yourself. It's such a beautiful kind of relationship, especially in like our traditions, which are mostly transmitted orally. They cannot be transmitted completely through text in any case. So then like the person and the relationship becomes so much, and you get to learn so much from them outside just the craft also. So it's been, yeah. So yeah, that's
I
Jan for
see.
me.
I see. What is the have you studied compositions from him that you can share? Something, one or two, or has it been more raga oriented study, vocal training, voice training, or have you been also receiving compositions?
Gee, it's been more voice training, So I mean, I mean, because obviously I wasn't trained for quite a while.
Mhm.
Mostly kids get into this, and
Mm.
the muscles are so kind of creating that space in the voice, bringing in awareness of the voice, creating different kinds of voices. Um, you know, so it's taken a lot of time, and also the whole time that I was there, I'm also like a full-time commercial musician, I mean singer.
Mm.
So there's all those things, and so finding time. But whenever I do, it's yeah, we can. I mean, I can sing like maybe a small bit of a
Yeah,
mand or something.
yeah, that would be fantastic.
Oh, केसरिया बालमा आओ जी हे पधारो मारो देश केसरिया पधारो मारो देश केसरिया बालमो आओ पधारो मारो देश रे पधारो मारो देश.
Wow, wow, wow. So this is, I think the Manganiyars do sing that. It's compositions from their repertoire, is that? But Naseeruddin Sami also sings this composition. Which
He
number
he
is?
sung it. I think he sung it maybe in earlier time. He sometimes sung it, but he teaches us everything, you know.
No, of course,
So,
yeah. Uh, That's
so,
a beautiful
so
composition.
he
I
what he
heard
does.
Ustad Sakar Khan and Laka Khan, Manganyas, they sing, very, very beautifully well. Yes, you were saying?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like for him, like that's another really interesting thing that and I'm sure you've experienced it too, and that's the very I think that's the difference between, I guess, the kind of teaching that I had pre Jan and then post Jan is because, like, before the Western style is के आपको syllabus देते हैं और फिर they say things to you, you listen to them, and then you come away, and you have to kind of, your desires have to be accommodated to whatever the syllabus is. But like, because this is a one-on-one thing, many a times the syllabus is like, it's changed according to you and whatever your desires are.
Yeah.
And like with like keeping your desires in mind, someone is teaching you, and you don't even realize that you're making progress, and then you make progress.
Right.
Like for me, that was such an and I think that's why there's so much love between ustad, shagird, guru, shikshak, all of that. So I don't know,
I
like
see.
that's yeah.
दिलरुबा गाया है तुमने कोक स्टूडियो के लिए, फोक ट्यून है, वो फोक ट्यून है, वो
जी जी
सुनाएंगे क्या?
हाँ जी बिल्कुल. Shazama, Dagare ha Shazama, Shazama, Dagare ha Shazama. Gula makrat gila, parva makrat balcha, nashe judat lama. Tumishwandun tamesa, khalku vaure yar meladu bewafa. Dilruba, 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 Dilruba narazi. पखंदा नाराजी खल्कु बोरे यार मिलाडू बेवफा और अम्बिया नाराजी पखंदा नाराजी और अम्बिया नाराजी ओ दिलरुबा नाराजी किस्मत में दोस्त जी उस प्रोत्यम जारो फार अरमान अशना में लाडू उसमें नदे बल पकार Qasam maqbul padini manzadalt protyama hayrant pacham ke garzam umiduna da janan zulum khafa krama fikrun taba khalqu vaure yar miladu bewafa dilruba 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 narazi pakhanda narazi khalqu vaure yar miladu बेवफा वही और अम्बिया नाराजी पखंदा नाराजी और अम्बिया नाराजी ओ दिलरुबा नाराजी जाना मिलाडू लाडू दबल चाशो जाना मिलाडू लाडू दबल चाशो पगनगमे बहुसरकित और विना पगनगमे बहुसरकित और विना दिलरुबा 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 नाराजी पखंदा नाराजी खल्को और यार मिलाडू बेवफा वही और अम्बिया नाराजी पखंदा नाराजी और अम्बिया नाराजी ओ दिलरुबा नाराजी.
क्या बात है. And then you take us to Balochistan, if I may.
जी.
There's your band, Sandara. You've in New York, you've got it. You performed this one there. But what's it about the I'm told that you your band, I mean, you guys love the Balochi music in particular. And I asked you earlier, and then you pivoted. Is there anything particularly like, well, no, not really any song, but then I'm told that your band loves Balochi music.
Okay, that's right. Okay,
Haha,
that was I
haha.
lost it.
You lost it. Bad.
Actually, yeah, I mean, it's really interesting, and I mean, I think it happens in every nation, but sometimes like certain cultures, and certain cultural expression, just because it's not in the mainstream, even if you're from there, you don't find listeners, you don't find players who are interested, you don't find musicians who want to help you,
True.
because music is so much about, I mean, especially when you're like going to put a song together, it's so much about collaboration, and everyone has to be as excited about it. And so I've been wanting to do Balochi music for so long, but like it's funny that within Pakistan I didn't have many takers for this.
I see.
And it's funny that, I mean, when I met Michael Winograd and we came across this music, I mean, they when we finally heard it, they loved it as much as me, and soon way more than me. Like, I
I
mean,
see.
I would call him and I'd be like, hi Michael, what are you doing? He's like, I'm checking out Sabzal Samagi's songs.
I
I
see.
just found this amazing tune on the Balochi banjo. So that's the thing. वही बात है कि जिस तरह हम में चीजें छुपी भी होती हैं या सोई भी
Hmm.
होती हैं, जाग जाती हैं, तो पूरी दुनिया में भी, because we're connected, all of us are
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
connected. So our songs we never know what we have inside us that can really spark someone else, and that's the whole idea of Sandara. Sandara means song in Pashto, and we're like, I'm basically working with people, musicians who have a klezmer background, Turkish background, or they do Ottoman music, also classical music, jazz, and we all bring like tunes and ideas together, and somehow, I guess because Balochistan is such an ancient land, it's like where Mehergar was. It's like, such, even like, it's even in terms of the Vedas, it's such an important area. And then of course there's all these migrations from North Africa. So the beats are so interesting. Then it was the original Dravidian, or part of the original Dravidian civilization. So there's like some Carnatic moves there. So people are so excited about that music. And so, I'd like to thank all my friends in Brooklyn for helping me discover and love
I
Balochi
see.
music. So
So now
this
we
is
can.
Gigi. This is a
Mananele.
song called Mana Nele by Satsal Samagi. I always get so confused. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Found it. Oh, man, ke dushi mawabatu ashwabatu ke darin kumara kotao re ke buru qasid bugo dustan ke khata chi gorbana zahre ore ke mananele taraga banda मन सबसे मादियानंदा mananele तरगा बंदा मन सबसे वादयानंदा मननेले तरगा बंदा मन सबसे वादयानंदा बुरो قاصد بودوستان خطاچی گومنا زهره برو قاصد بودوستان خطاچی गोमना सारे मनाने ले तरगा बंदा मन सबसे वादयानंदा मनने ले तरगा बंदा मन सबसे वादयानंदा मनी दोस्ता कतन zare shutanishta ke dage zare mani dosta katan zare shutanishta ke gane zare मनने ले तरगा बंदा मन सबसे वादयानंदा मनने ले तरगा बंदा मन सबसे वादयानंदा.
This is very surprising, very surprising. The movements, the harkat, the andol, and so on and so forth. Very, very similar. Very interesting note that you shared about the Carnatic Sangeet similarity. Even in my interactions with the scholars of the Carnatic Sangeet, they're shocked with what has survived in the Gurbani Sangeet tradition, because it was unaffected by the royal courts. It remained sovereign, and it still had relationship with the past, with the original, when there was still one music and not multiple regional, or not really regionally divided as such. What about a song, Laila O Laila, which is both by Balochi and Sindh provinces it is sung? Would you mind sharing that with us? How does that go?
That's
and
really
that's like shared, you're mentioning, instead of other ones which are more synonymous with particular region and culture. But this one is something that is shared by two quite distinct cultures, is it?
Yes and no. I mean, like, they are distinct. But then there's also, like, many Balochi tribes that have lived in Sindh, and now they've become synonymous.
I see.
So it's like, the Saraiki Punjabi thing, like, like, it's very distinct.
Spanish and Italian, I see.
Although Balochi and Sindhi as languages are very different, and as cultures are very, but like, because they're so nearby, and also Balochistan, I guess, has always been such a diverse place. So there's also tons of Pathans there, there's Hazaras there, there's Farsi spoken, there's Balochi, there's Brohi, there's, Sindhi, all of that stuff is there. Oops.
I see.
And actually, one of my best friends from school, from when I was in Mount Holyoke, you might find this interesting. So they were they were from Quetta and from Balochistan, but they were but she's from a Sikh family. I mean, she's Sikh, and so they have a very specific community even within Delhi today that are like the Balochi Sikhs, the Quetta Sikhs. So it also has, so it even had, that element of it, like we said. So. This is a little happier. Lela oh Lela, Lela oh Lela, pyar mara, Lela mijaziye, Lela, Lela oh Lela, Lela oh Lela, pyar mara, Lela mijaziye, Lela mijaziye, Lela mijaziye, Lela. Edagar mulke koita mahi, mulke koita mahi, mulke mijaziye lela, mijaziye lela. Edagar mulke koita mahi, mulke koita mahi, mulke lela o lela, lela o lela, pyar mara lela mijaziye lela. Lela, oh, Lela.
क्या बात है. And then there is this, we've been around. Can we come back to Punjab a little bit?
Yes.
Someone who was whose family was a Rababi family, and the late Mehdi's related to him. His, Tufail Niazi Saab, and I know that you really liked.
Yeah, that he was related.
Yes, yeah, related.
Oh my God!
Yeah, the Lay's,
That is
grandmother, I think, is a sister of Tufail Niazi Saab. Something, there's a very close relationship. His grandmother, or I don't exactly remember now. I mean, I know it; it's just not coming to my mind right now. So he, his cousin or nephew was Professor Ranjit Singh, who played Pakhavaj and tabla. They were traditionally family of Pakhavjis, and Tufail Niazi Saab was the first one who actually sang, and they were the Rababis of Maharaja Kapurthala. And I see a lot of repertoire which has the same movement as such, repertoire which is shared between the Gurbani traditions and Tufail Saab's renditions. It's different. It's different than other folk that has been sung by people. And I know that one of my favorites is also your favorite, which is Khediyan Naal.
Yes. So it's a very, thank you for suggesting that. He's been, I mean, he's part of the reason, that I was really curious, because when I heard him sing Punjabi songs, I mean, it was such a different expression from what I was hearing around me. And I wanted to understand what this was. And so it's been years now. Also his expressions, I think, there's so much storytelling on his face, which is so, it's soft storytelling, and as he's singing, and I really, really love it. So I'll try. I'll give it a shot. Give it a shot. And for this one, I really want to say Gustakhi Maaf.
Adib.
रांझन ढूंढ Oh my God. Sorry.
Yeah.
रांझन ढूंढण मैं चली मनोरांझा मिले आना
क्या बात.
रब मिले रांझा ना मिले रब राजे फरगाना दिल विच राज दा ख्याल नहीं मैं जाना केड़ियां दे नाल दिल विच राज दा मेरे राजे दा ख्याल सोने राजे दा ख्याल दिल विच राजे दा ख्याल नहीं मैं जाना केड़ियां दे नाल लोकां दे भाणे राजा चाक मजीदा लोकां दे भाणे राजा चाक मजीदा मैनू ते रब दा जमाल नहीं मैं जाना खेड़ियां दे नाल वे मैं नहीं जाना खेड़ियां दे नाल राजा मेरा राजा मेरा राजा मेरा सब तो सोना राजा मेरा रच के सोना रे मेरा सोना राजा मेरा सोना राजा रे राजा मेरा रज के सोना सोना कोची हीर सयाल नहीं मैं जाना खेड़ियां दे नाल वे मैं नहीं जाना खेड़ियां दे नाल सॉरी मेरा गला
Yeah.
बिल्कुल बैठ
मतलब कितना अच्छा उन्होंने कंपोजिशन मतलब कमाल है किया. फैल साहब दा कंट्रीब्यूशन बहुत ਵੱਡਾ ਹੈਗਾ, especially ਲੋਕ ਵਿਰਸਾ. He the way he was so such a key factor within that whole idea of documentation, archiving. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਵਾਨੀ ਵੇਲੇ ਦਾ ਤੰਬੀ ਲਾ ਕੇ ਚਿਮਟਾ ਵਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਭਰਾ, the two guys singing that very fast number, I think for television, old one.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. First
That's
television song.
quite a stellar. I mean, ਵਾਹ ਮਤਲਬ ਵਾਹ ਨਿਕਲਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਜੀ ਵੱਡੀਆਂ ਰੂਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਨਾਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਕਰਕੇ. I think it's such a. So, Zeb, it's been over 3 hours now. We've been bothering. I've been making you sing. I know your voice is I've tired it. I've maybe be not so nice getting you to sing one after the other. There's so many more that I want to go, but I guess we'll have to leave it for another conversation when we do it in the near future. But it's been wonderful for me to know about your work, about the way you have, your interest from your grandmother. My grandmother was was my storyteller. But of course, she comes into my life after I renounced my career. So it's very personal to me when you talk so fondly about your grandma. And thank you for sharing so much. What's music to you now? You've walked a few years. You've treaded, plenty. When you began, when we all began, music was perhaps one thing for us. It can be like you mentioned about the ambience within your family, your cousins, your brothers, sisters, putting together things, when you're all together, there's a whole sense of invincibility. That yes, we can. It's not about against others, but it's about your own self. Oh yeah, we can do it too, or we can do it. Let's do this. That idea of invincibility, if I may use the term or the expression. But now that you have had, as I was one by one looking at your own, personal success, your shot at fame, and then being receiving invitations from just about everywhere, from production houses to film to television. What is it to you now? Has the idea of music changed? Has your attendance, musical attendance, if I may, been altered or changed over the years than it was before to what it is now? What is the relationship between Zeb and music in 2020 than it was in maybe 10, 20?
That's a really, so basically, it's evolved a lot, G. I think when I started off, I think music was something that I just imbibed from my surroundings when I was younger. So it was literally just, it was through a process of osmosis. So there was no real sense of awareness or, and then when we started our career, it started becoming career and all of that. But I think in the process of finding different traditions, finding different teachers, finding, collaborators. I think now I've realized that I relate to the world through music, no matter what it is, whether it's I show whether it's anger or love. It's my language. Is basically that's what it is, and it also it's shaped my identity, but not in the way that I thought it would when I first came onto the scene, or as a Pathan, or as a Pakistani, or as a Punjabi, or as a Muslim, or as a this or as that, but as a woman. The way music shapes identity is that it just expands it, So it's I feel like I'm becoming more and more kind of bloated with this, and everything, whether it's identity, whether it's politics, whether it's humanity, and all of it to me it emanates from music. So whether or not I pursue a career in it, or if tomorrow I stop it, or I don't think it ever will go away, because I feel like that need to kind of continue with my relationship with music is definitely like set in stone now.
What is the
So
politics part of that? That's very interesting that you speak about. Are you an activist? Uh, what is your idea of politics as an music as an instrument?
I'm not really, and that's a great question. I don't think that I'm. I think what the thing is that with any art form, especially in areas of the world where so many so much violent histories have happened, and it's been one group or another group or another group or another group. And I think what happens in that scramble for power is that sometimes cultures are claimed and reclaimed, and overstated and understated, and that's the culture, that's the politics of culture. And so I'm aware of it. I'm aware of these differences, and I guess I very consciously stay away from it, because for me, like, I really feel that there's a connecting source. I mean, this is what I mean when I said that that it when you look at music as your identifying thing, so it just like it actually, you can spread over like half the world. I mean, if I wasn't a musician, there's no way that I would be, hanging out in Brooklyn with, people from a certain community, from like a Jewish community, or like, with Turks or with Malians from, like, it allows you, and you bring songs to them, and they can connect to those songs, and I
I
think
think
that what's happened in today's world is with nation states and nation ideologies. And so, I mean, it's just a couple of 100 years old. Is that it's just like this idea that a certain kind of song can only be understood by a certain kind of person, or a certain kind of language will only be relevant to this kind of person. And also markets really ruin that for you, because they're like, kyun ga rahi ho? I mean, it's funny, Paimona became one of my biggest hits, one of the most important songs in my career. Everyone loved it the minute they heard it. Everyone told me, isko mat release karo. दरी कौन गाता है, दरी किसको समझ आएगी. So so right from the beginning of my career, like, I've always had to like be I've always had to confront that, but I don't see myself as a fighter, because that is not I'm not a competitive person like that. Like, I don't want to prove anything, but I definitely I'm greedy.
Mhm. But is it, I mean, the idea, I mean, for example, talking of politics, there are people, fortunately, there are very many, and they are worth the grain of salt, who are happy about my conversation, for example, today. There are others who would see it as a political act, even for me to be talking to, when there are certain people on my side of the line who are forbidding any contact, people to people contact, art to art contact, thinker to thinker contact, literature to literature contact, government to government contact. Um, so my conversation is deemed very political by them, even if it is not meant to be political. It is
Ji.
about showing what life is actually. That it's there is that this planet, for example, I've been fighting for a long time my voice for environment, for water. As I did my event Expressions of Nature, Dharti Suhavi in Italy, formed the Anād ensemble. I was reminded of Gurū Nanak's sloka, Pavan Guru Pani Pita Mata Dharati Mahat. That Pavan, the air, is the Guru, is the master, is the maestro. Pani Pita, the waters, the father. Mata Dharati Mahat, the earth is the mother. Devasarat Dve Dai Daya, the midwife and the mid-husband are the day and night. And Khele Sagal Jagat, the entire world plays in the lap of these five. Chagyaya Burayaya Vachatar Madhu. We are weighed by the good and the bad deeds. That's it. And this is the idea of dharma. What else is it? What language is it? In terms of Changyai Burayai, what language is it? Bad conduct. As Gurū Nānak was asked Puchan Fol Kitab nu, Hindu Vada ke Musalmano, that you come from India, you come from Hindustan. Tell us, you've studied their texts and you study the Semitic systems. You know it all. After the debate, they asked him, and in Makkah, for example, when he visited there and went to Syria and beyond, went to the Vatican as well, they say.
Yeah, I know.
He says that Shubh Amala Bajo Do Me Roye. That it is about Shubh Amal, about good deeds, that both fall short. What is this comparison about? So I think in terms of the kind of my idea of politics is that this earth, this planet, the mother earth that we have, is the only heaven that we know of. And we aspire for something else when we don't take care of this planet, where we can actually remember the Karta, the Kartar, where I'm reminded of Gurū Nanak's fantastic composition. And my voice is also dead, but I'll just hum it. I'm trying to get the ambient sound. Okay, I don't want the noise cancelling. Okay, let's see if I can get the ambience. Otherwise, it feels like I'm singing in silence. YaarAnād Bolo Sach Naam Kartar Sach Naam. I have to remove one earplug. Sach Naam Kartar Pun Badna Vanvar Bolo Sach Naam Kartar Disat Bekari Bandhan Bandhai Ola Viraya Jai. It goes on. This is very Madhyagati. My voice is really dead. I shouldn't be singing. Just to give an idea, ki hai ke bolo sach naam kartar. The generic name, that this is a doing. ये कीती हुई कायनात सारी कीती हुई है किसे करते दी एक करता जिदा ना रंग है ना रूप है ना नाम है ना जेंडर है ना नर है ना नारी है वो करतार है वो सच है वो हक है ते ओदा नाम है जिदा नाम ही कोई नहीं ओदा नाम ये पैराडॉक्स देखो किदां दे ने कॉन्स्ट्रक्ट बड़े सिंपल सरल ने थ्योरम्स बड़ियां सरल ने ते ये जिहड़ी हेट्रेड है ਉਹ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਵੋਗ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਇੱਕ ਦੂਜੇ ਸਬਆਲਟਰਨ ਟੈਂਡੈਂਸੀ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਉਹ ਮੈਂ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਆਫ ਵਰਲਡ ਰਿਲੀਜਨ ਵੀ ਜਾਣਨਾ ਕਦੇ ਇੰਟਰਫੇਥ ਐਸਪੈਕਟ ਹਰ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਬੰਦਾ ਆਪਣੀ ਕੱਛ ਥੱਲੇ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਸਕ੍ਰਿਪਚਰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਘੁੰਮ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਸੋਚਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਤਾਂ ਗਏ ਜਹੰਨਮ ਚ ਮੈਂ ਹੀ ਆ ਜੋ ਸੁਰਗ ਚ ਜਾਵਾਂਗਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਈਸਾਈ ਵੀ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਕਈ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੇ ਈਸਾਈ ਨੇ ਕਈ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੇ ਮੁਸਲਮਾਨ ਨੇ ਕਈ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਕਈ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੇ ਹਿੰਦੂ ਨੇ ਕਈ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੇ ਯਹੂਦੀ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਹਰ ਕੋਈ ਬੰਦਾ ਸੋਚਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਚੱਲਿਆ ਜੰਨਤ ਤਾਂ ਰੱਬ ਨੇ ਬਣਾਈ ਮੇਰੇ ਲਈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਗਏ ਜਹੰਨਮ ਚ ਸੋ ਇਹ ਕੀ ਕਨਸਟਰਕਟਸ ਨੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਜੋ ਮਾਂ ਹੈ ਸਾਡੀ ਜੋ ਦਿਨ ਰਾਤ ਹੈ ਜਿਹਦੀ ਗੋਦ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਖੇਲਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੋ ਮੁਹੱਬਤ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਰੈਲੇਵੈਂਸ ਉਹਦਾ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਾ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਡਿਸਪੈਂਸੇਬਲ ornaments ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਇਨਸਾਨੀਅਤ ਦੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਰੱਬ ਦੀ ਯਾਦ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਮੁਹੱਬਤ ਮਾਣ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਦਇਆ ਇੱਕ ਦੂਜੇ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰਤੀ ਕੰਪੈਸ਼ਨ ਪਿਆਰ ਲਵ ਕੰਪੈਸ਼ਨ ਪੀਸ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੋਇਟਰੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੀਰ ਮੁਰਸ਼ਿਦ ਦੇ ਚਰਨਾਂ 'ਚ ਉਹਦੇ ਕਦਮਾਂ 'ਤੇ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਨੰਦ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਇਹ ਸਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵਾਰਤਾ ਹੈ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ 'ਚ ਪੋਲੀਟਿਕਸ ਵੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਯੈਸ ਪਰ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਹੀ ਹੈ ਵਾਟ ਯੂ ਸੈਡ ਇਜ਼ ਵੈਰੀ ਪਾਵਰਫੁਲ that the kind of musicians and the background you mentioned that your band and your work is actually living the idea of acceptance of diversity. It's not just tolerating diversity. It is accepting the idea of diversity. I think that itself is a very powerful political statement. As I think Fauji kids, what do we know of politics as such? We don't know what politics is. ਸਾਡੇ ਪਿਓ ਦੀ ਵਰਦੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਪਾਈ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜੇ ਲੋੜ ਪੈ ਗਈ ਤੇ ਜਾਨ ਵਾਰ ਦੇਣੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਵਿਰਾਗ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਸਾਡਾ ਇਸ਼ਕ ਵੀ ਉਨਾ ਹੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਵੈਲਰ ਵੀ ਉਨਾ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੋ what therefore as Fauji kids especially it's relevant in a way that both of our peers would have spent so much time about imagining the idea of war. And here are two Fauji kids, celebrating the idea of love, of acceptance of diversity, of compassion, of excellence, of collective harvest, of bloom, of collective elders from Baba Sheikh Farid to Kabir to Gurū Nānak to Bulle Shah to so many grand elders. How do you see all of this? I mean, do you think that your voice that you have gotten gains traction, that we are able to do enough to swim sort of against the current as if? How do you see all of that? Or is it a wrong question to ask? Or
No,
if
I
at
don't
all it
think
is a
so.
question. If at all it is a question. I don't know what it is.
No, I mean, I don't think it's a wrong question or anything. I just think that, it's just, if it had happened that's what I'm saying, it's funny because you find yourself being politicized, even if it's not coming from there. Like, I mean, I'll tell you something, like, I'll share something with you, G, that when we first came out, throughout Pakistan, India, America, Singapore, we were touted as like these Pathan girls, from the wild, wild west who sing, oh my God, and what do their fathers think? How awful are their brothers to them? How does society treat them? But like I said, there was no story there. And so while I believe in these ideas, I'm also like living I've also understood that, I guess, and in that sense, again, it speaks to like my old fashionedness, because I really feel like, God has certain plans for us. And, we do that. And sometimes, like there was, I think I've had more support coming from the kind of family that I came from than any of the musicians I know around. Any. And so, so वही बात है कि अल्लाह में के कामों को हम कैसे समझ सकते हैं? We can't. नहीं हो सकता. We can only do what we can do, And how do you keep yourself away from anger? Like, that's what I've realized. Because as sensitive as one is as an artist, I get hurt and I get angry. And for me, like, the most important thing is to just like not get angry and just keep doing as much as I can do and have fun with it and enjoy it. That's it, you know. And Baki, the other stuff just happens. Like, I wish I could say to you that I did this or I created this or I made this song. It didn't. Like, and you probably, you know, can relate to this, that when at the time of like when the real like creative moment happens, you don't know how it happens. And for the whole like life of you, you can never recreate it, you know. So in that sense, I feel like, you know, and also I don't even feel angry at people who want to hold on to hatred, because it's fine. Like, maybe that is how they are that's their relationship to the world. Maybe prejudice is an important way for them to like understand themselves. All I know is that it's not for me, you know. And I guess in that, so I mean, I'm not really a fighter or an activist. I wish I was, but I'm really not. It's a little boring. But ऐसा ही है, you know. क्या कर, I mean, and also like once you like start learning, because it's not just like we said, you know, when I'm learning Kashmiri, it's not like that I'm preserving Kashmir, but Kashmiri is giving so much to me. Like Roshi gives me so much. So I sometimes think of myself as a very selfish and self-obsessed person.
It's about
because
fulfillment. Yeah, it's about fulfillment.
It's fulfillment.
Our fulfillment.
It just fulfills you. Yeah. So I'm just going where I find fulfillment, and I don't find it in this kind of a zone. I find it with like, and I, you know, all my life I grew up in a Pakistan where we were literally like political. For me, through music, to find that
Can you repeat that? I lost the signal. You were frozen for a moment. Can you repeat your last sentence again, please?
When I was growing up, there was a lot of like, you know, politically we were very isolated in the world, you know. Abhi to phir bhi, because of social media and stuff, you can always put your own ideas forward, you can put your own narratives forward. At that point in time, like the whole world, you know, there was enmity all around, or there was a war all around, or there was some kind of trouble all around. So within Pakistan, with a lack of history, I felt like I was living on an island in terms of my idea of myself. And then you find music, and then you find culture, and then you stumble upon histories, and you find connectedness. And now, like, my idea of myself is this way. So how can you hate when it's a part of you, you know?
You know, ऐसा है जैसे एक ऐसी दुनिया हो जिसमें शादी को गुनाह माना जाए, संजोग को गुनाह माना जाए, और विजोग जो है, बंटवारा या जो तलाक है, उसको ग्लोरीफाई किया जाए. कैसी दुनिया होगी वो? हाँ, जिसमें ये लोग सोचते नहीं हैं कि चीज़ें तोड़ना, जोड़ना, जहाँ जोड़ने का मतलब नाम ना हो, जुड़ने का नाम ना हो, भड़कने का, भड़काने का, भटकने का, भटकाने का ये फैशन हो, वो कैसी दुनिया होगी? मैं जानता हूँ कैसी होगी. एकदम वैसी जिसमें मैं जी रहा हूँ, जिसमें जिसे कहें कि आई थिंक यू बैक, जिसमें मोहब्बत हो, जिसमें अमन हो, जिसमें संगीत हो, जिसमें मैं भाई बलदीप सिंह भी गा रहा हूँ. रटत मन रटत मन रटत मन रटत मन, दर को नाम महबूब खुदा के रसूल को प्यारा. रटत मन 14 सबक में चारा। मुझे, मैं भी गा रहा हूँ, वहाँ पे रबाबी बैठे गुरबानी गा रहे हैं, हाँ? जिसमें मेरी दादी, मेरी आंट, ग्रैंड आंट जो है, वो भुल्लर गांव में बैठी, भाई अर्जन सिंह तरंगट जिनका नाम लिया, वो रोज़े के वक्त में सुबह 2 बजे उठकर लस्सी लड़कना शुरू कर रही है। जो सारी जो रोज़ा रखती हैं लड़कियां, बीवियां, यानी कि बीबियां, सबके लिए बड़े, मतलब एक अकेले बनाती थी वो, और सब आके कहते थे कि कैसी अम्मा ਤੁਹਾਡੀ लस्सी किदां दी है, रात नहीं कहते भुख ही नहीं लगती। वो कहाँ है दुनिया जिसमें जिसमें मोहब्बत, जैसे बेगमपुरा शहर को नाव भगत रविदास गाते हैं कि बेगमपुरा शहर को नाव दुख अंदोल नाही को थाव, जिसमें दुख और अंदोल, अंदेशा जो है, या जिसे कहें दुचिती है, शंका है, उसको स्थान, उसकी जगह ना हो उस दुनिया में। और गम के बगैर बेगमपुरा, गम रहित, गम से बिरेफ्ट जो है ऐसी दुनिया, और वो मेरे शहर का नाम है, कहें वो। और फिर आखिर में कहते हैं कि जो हम शहरी वो मीत हमारा, जो मेरा हम शहरी है वो मेरा मित्र है, वो दोस्त भी ऐसे हों। सो वो यूटोपिक आइडियाज तो कह देते हैं, यूटोपिया की बात करते हैं, पर कितने कितने बड़े हुए उन्होंने तो बात यही जन्नत लाने की बात कही ना। पर अगर हम नफरतों के सौदागर बनते हैं, अगर किसी को डिसनफ्रेंचाइज किया जाता है सिर्फ इसलिए कि तुम्हारा वो मज़हब नहीं जो मेरा है, और आज मैं जहाँ पे मेजॉरिटी में हूँ, मेरी लाठी है तो मेरी भैंस होगी, ये दुनिया से भविष्य यानी फ्यूचर क्या है, ये हम सबको इकट्ठे होकर देखना होगा कि क्या ये नैरेटिव हमने देख लिया ना, तोड़ फोड़ करके देख लिया, एक दूसरे से नफरत करके देख ली, तो क्या हम क्या आर्ट पैदा कर सकते हैं, क्या हम लिख सकते हैं, क्या हम गा सकते हैं, क्या हम गलवकड़ी डाल सकते हैं जिसमें हम कहते हैं कि लेट्स क्रिएट अ सिचुएशन विच इज़ विन विन फॉर एवरीबॉडी, जिसमें किसी की डिनायल ना हो। ऐसी भी तो दुनिया हो सकती है जिसमें एक्सेप्टेंस हो और हम बांट के खा रहे हैं। मतलब क्या हम खुशी नहीं बांट सकते? हम
बांटने की तो वही चीज है।
इतने छोटे हैं ना, इतने छोटे रह गए हम, कितने बौने हो गए। खैर एनीवे, मैं पता नहीं कहाँ बातों में कहाँ संगीत कर रहे थे हम। तुमने, अच्छा हाँ सच, वो बीच तुमने पॉलिटिक्स का नाम लिया तो मैं वहां से छिड़ा था। तुमने पता नहीं कौन सी रग पे हाथ रख लिया।
It's all
I'm
my
just
fault.
kidding. No. So is it still a mood for you to sing one last before I say, or your voice is now tired that we've sung for a long time?
Quite tired, but I just had a magical cup of coffee. I can maybe
Ooh.
bust out one last tune. But before I do
Whoa.
that, I would really like to thank you and for this, just for your company and for teaching me so much. It's just been so wonderful, and it's very unusual. I don't think I've ever had an interview like, I don't know what to call it, but it was a lovely
It's
bit.
not, certainly not an interview. I
It's
must say that. More of a conversation.
but
It's a mela, you know. It's a, and it's, I don't know if I told you, it's inspired by Baba Sheikh Farid's line, "Duda thani na avi fir hoye na mela." So it's the counter narrative of his. He's giving a warning कि जे थन चो दुध दी बूंद जे निकल जे तो वापस नहीं जा सकती, पेड़ तो पत्ता फल जे गिर जावे वापस जुड़ नहीं सकता, ते असी टुटिए क्यों, क्यों ना असी मेले करिए। सो कहते दूधा थनी ना आवे फिर होए ना मेला, तो आपा मेला है 36वां मेला है। So oh, it's inspired by, I was singing one day and that's how it spurted out. It just said, okay, this is episode okay, but this is the Mela. So if I go into the second season, episodes will remain of the season, but Mela will continue. It will be one continuous. That count will not change. Right now it's episode 36, Mela 36. But when it turns season 2, let's say episode 27, but Mela will be the number, will not be 27 no more. So it will be it is that inspired by the dant of Baba Sheikh Farid. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ
Nice.
ਛਿੱਤਰ ਤੋਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਾਂ ਜੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਛਿੱਤਰ ਤੋਂ ਡਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਮੇਲਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਇਆ ਜੀ
नहीं, चित्तर से ही काम चलता है एक्चुअली, चित्तर के बगैर चलता ही नहीं है.
बिल्कुल.
So I'll
की सुनाओगे? No, it's been a pleasure really. I know that you were mentioning, I'm sorry I interrupted you, but it's been my pleasure really. Thank you for taking time out. I'm just I'm an unknown fellow. मेरा कोई बड़ा मैनू कुछ नहीं आंदा, पर मैं हाँ खंडरां दे विच रूइंस दे विच रहा हैगा, and my entire purpose has been to recover as many assets, both tangible and intangible, and identify them which belong, what is human heritage, what is actually insaniyat da jada heritage हैगा, ਉਹਨੂੰ disseminable ਵੀ ਕਰਨਾ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸੈਲੀਬ੍ਰੇਟ ਕਰਨਾ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵ ਕਰਨਾ, ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਮੇਰੇ ਲਈ ਸੁਭਾਗ ਸੀ. ਮੈਂ ਸ਼ੁਕਰਗੁਜ਼ਾਰ ਹਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਵੀ, ਬਾਕੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਦੋਸਤ ਮਿੱਤਰ ਦੁਸ਼ਮਣ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੁਰਾਣੀਆਂ ਮੇਰੀਆਂ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤਾਂ ਮੇਲੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ, ਮੈਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਸ਼ੁਕਰਗੁਜ਼ਾਰ ਹਾਂ. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਸਮਾਂ ਕੱਢਿਆ ਮੇਰੇ ਲਈ, ਔਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਢਿਆ ਹੈ. ਸ਼ੁਕਰਗੁਜ਼ਾਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਹੋਣਾ, ਮੇਰਾ ਬਣਦਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ.
Thank you, and thank you for your dant, and next time I'll speak to you in Punjabi.
ਨਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ, ਕੋਈ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ.
ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ, ਹੁਣ ਉਹ ਹੋਰ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ चश्मत के बाहुए खुतन मेहमाना याद पर गुलाब आए चमन मेहमाना गुर्रों के कुने परख परख बोए कुने आलाल ज़ारी भी वतन मियाँ याद है मोना बेदे Morastam Manoshukhi Chashme Masti Orastam Manoshukhi Chashme Masti Orastam Bede Bede Why Bede Bede Why Bede Bede Morastam Paimona Bede Thank you.
Beautiful. So thank you so much, Zeb. I'm grateful to you once again for taking time out. And my apologies to ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੇਰੀ apologies ਦੇ ਦੇਣਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਚੁਰਾਈ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਇੰਨੀ ਦੇਰ ਲਈ, ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਗੁਲਾਮੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਰਵਾ ਦਿੱਤੀ. ਇਹਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਡਾ ਸ਼ੁਕਰਾਨਾ ਅਰਜ਼ ਕਰ ਦੇਣਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਅਲਾਮਾ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਤਾਈਂ ਪੁੱਜਦਾ ਕਰ ਦੇਣਾ ਡਾਕ ਰਾਹੀਂ.
ਜੀ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ. No response.
नहीं ऐसी रिस्पॉन्स लैंड मस्ती गाली दी कही सी सो
रिस्पॉन्स दे
रिस्पॉन्स ना दे के एहसान ना जताओ
अच्छा जी ठीक है Thank you so much. Stay well and enjoy
and
Delhi.
well enjoy what I'm in prison I cannot this I'm in a hotel but I cannot go anywhere ਇੱਥੇ ਬੈਠਾ ਮੈਂ ਵੇਲੀਆਂ ਭੁਰਦੇ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਹੋਰ ਕੋਈ ਕੰਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੇ ਆਪਣਾ
That's
ਵੀ ਸਿਰ ਖਾਓ ਤੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਖਾਓ
that's the best.
सरल methodology ਸਾਡੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੀ ਹਾਂਜੀ
Gee, absolutely.
but it's my second day of quarantine and how is the before we go how is North Carolina how is the situation about coronavirus
Pretty good. I think because especially where we are, there's a number of very big hospitals and there's a huge doctor community. So I think when the pandemic was it was most other places were not in lockdown, but even before official lockdown, organizations were really, and the mayor was very particular about making sure that people were careful. So it never really blew up to anything here. So we're quite okay. Quite
I see
yeah, gee, grateful to that. Thank you so much for
right
asking.
no, my pleasure I hope you all take care and I'll speak to you very shortly thank you so very much
Okay, thank
Allah
you,
Hafiz
thank you
bye
for that.
so also that was my conversation uh, with with Zeb Bangash and I hope you enjoyed that. And it's quite a celebration of diversity, of cultures, of languages, of musical forms. Uh, what a beautiful person. I can only offer my best wishes, and I hope that she is able to contribute more and more meaningful work that is not only entertaining in nature, that doesn't just entertain us, but also helps us, guides us, helps weave a more beautiful future than what we are doing otherwise, what we are otherwise ensuring for our coming generations. So this is where I will end the 36th Mēlā, 36ਵਾਂ ਮੇਲਾ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਕਹੀਏ ਤੇ ਕੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਹੋਏਗੀ will be tomorrow. I have two very special guests. The first one is a very, very dear elder. He is the Jagat Guru of the Vallabh Sampradaya. He is Jagat Guru, Peeth Hadishwar, and Mathadipati. Dr. Pandit Gokuleshwar Maharaj, Pandit Goswami Gokuleshwar Maharaj. He is an extraordinary scholar, one of the finest that we have in our midst. He is a beautiful Pakhavaj player, but then he's a repository of Dhrupad and Khayal and Tarana. He's a prolific composer. Over 5,000 compositions he has, and quite stunning. I've heard some of them, and he's quite a. I mean, he's a beautiful elder, and it'll be, as I come from a very, very old sampradaya, it is a beautiful, to meet an elder from another sampradaya, and how shared musical interests and concerns and philosophical concerns, spiritual insights, they come together and they are introduced to each other, and we celebrate the gift of Naam, Paramatma da jehड़ा naam है ਉਹਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ. So tomorrow it will be my pleasure and an honor, in fact, to be in conversation with him at 7:30. And late in the night, I'll be in conversation with Ustad Altaf Hussain Sarahang, who will be joining me live from Toronto. And Maharaj ji will be joining from Indore from his from the pit which he heads and serves from Indore. So until tomorrow, I will take your leave. Have a wonderful evening, wherever it is an evening. And a good night to those who must now look for a bed. Khuda Hafiz, Sat Sri Akal, Namaskar, वाहिगुरू जी का खालसा वाहिगुरू जी की फतेह के साथ करता है। प्यार बहुत वडमूली चीज़ है, मोहब्बत, इत्तेफाक, ये हलीमी, दया, संतोख बहुत बड़े गहने ने दोस्तों। बाबा कहता है पालो, सानू सारे पा लेने चाहिए। धन गुरु नानक सत करता है।